Mania.
Welcome to the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl and part of Capital One Bowl Mania. We are in Shreveport, one of the oldest bowls in existence. Independence Stadium, just outside of downtown Shreveport. And the matchup from Conference USA, Southern Mississippi, and from the ACC, the Florida State Seminoles. It has not been a great season for Florida State. They've had major downs and ups, and it really began on a down note. They go in number 3, take on number 1 Alabama, lose their quarterback, DeAndre Francois, for the year. Then they hit a 3-6 mark. They had not done that. Their worst start since Bobby Bowden's first year in 1976, and then Jimbo Fisher left on December 1st. But they have a new head coach in Willie Taggart. Interim coach Odell Haggins is sticking around. That's very important, and we'll be talking about that all day. Along with Roddy Jones and Ahmad Brooks, I'm Dave Lamont. Thank you very much for joining us. So after all of that, Ahmad, that the Seminoles have gone through, how do they get their focus for this game?
Well, it's difficult, especially considering that fans all across the country are familiar with this brand, along with the success that this program has had. And not to mention, you look at one of the most recognizable helmets in all of college football. It's been those players that have had to endure all the challenges that have come along this year. They're ready to put that behind them. But before they do that, and before this program gets off of the mat, you know they've got great facilities, great recruiting base, and a new head coach with great optimism in Willie Taggart. They've got to take on a scrappy Southern Miss bunch today in the Golden Eagles.
And the Golden Eagles have a couple of offensive weapons, Roddy, that any coach around the country would be very, very happy to have.
You're exactly right, Dave. It starts with Ito Smith and Corey Robertson. Ito Smith, the running back, first team all conference. Corey Smith, the receiver. Corey Robertson, the same thing. But when you talk about Ito Smith, the running back is a senior from Mobile, Alabama, and a great story about how he got that nickname. He was born in 1995, around the time of the O.J. Simpson trial, and his grandmother actually came back, and when she saw baby Romaria Smith and those chubby cheeks, he said, he looks like Judge Lance Ito, the presiding judge of that O.J. Simpson trial. And Ito Smith has absolutely held court on the field. First team all conference, as I said earlier, and he is the number 1 in the Southern Miss record books in all-time all-purpose yards. You'll see him catch the ball out of the backfield. You'll obviously see him toting the rock. He's the engine that makes this Southern Miss offense go, and his success will go a long way towards determining the success of this offense.
Roddy, thank you very much. You take a look at Jay Hobson in his second season as the head coach. He had been an assistant with the Golden Eagles before and had some success at Alcorn State. That's what attracted Southern Mississippi to bring him in. And Odell Haggins just signed on to remain with Willie Taggart as the defensive line coach. He is a Florida State lifer. Played for Bobby Bowden. Coached with the legendary Florida State coach. Coached with Jimbo Fisher. And now he's staying in Tallahassee. And you always wonder what was going to happen or what happens to the interim coach, Ahmad. This was, I thought, a really smart move by Willie Taggart.
Outstanding move. And in talking to him yesterday, I'm not sure you could search the entire United States and find a man or a person who knows the program as well as he does. And what I really enjoyed was his approach to the student athletes, the respect he gives them, and the amount of love that he shows to his players. It was quite obvious when we talked to Derek Nundy about how he felt about him and his development as a student athlete.
Yeah, it was interesting. We didn't even really talk that much about the game with him. He was much more concerned with big picture stuff. And why not? Particularly with the early recruiting that everybody had to go through. It is 38 degrees here, a bit of a breeze going from the left to the right on your device. And we are in field turf. And unfortunately, don't see the sun today here in Shreveport. Florida State won the toss. They deferred. And so Southern Mississippi will send T-Rod Daniels and Tez Parks back deep. So make that Ito Smith is going to get a chance to return kicks and not Daniels. By the way, the last time anybody returned a kickoff for a touchdown against the Seminoles, 2004. 181 consecutive without one being taken. Yeah. Nice crowd on hand. A lot of folks making the trip from Tallahassee or from Southern Mississippi. Toe meets leather, we're underway. Very short kick taken to the 12-yard line. And Smith won't get very far at all. He'll get to about the 22-yard line. That's just a 10-yard pickup. Let's take a look at how the Golden Eagles got here. 6-2 in Conference USA. And Quadra Griggs and Keon Howard split time at quarterback. Griggs has been dealing with an injured hand all season long. Two credible all-conference performers that Roddy has already talked about, and they got hot late. Won their last three in a wild win over Marshall at the end.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 5 on the kicking team. His first 15-yard penalty after enforcement. 1st and 10.
So that's a boost in field position and a mental error. And Odell Hagen's very frustrated, and understandably. And this goes to my question to you right away, Ahmad. What about Florida State's focus?
Yeah, you're going to see the right side of your screen here, the extracurricular activities. And, yeah, it's about controlling emotions when you play in these bowl games for sure, Dave.
So Quadra Griggs brings out the offense. They'll run a jet sweep to Alanze Staggers, and he is taken down after a 4-yard pickup at the 41-yard line. So Quadra Griggs, the redshirt junior from Greenwood, Mississippi, had a great finish to the season, even dealing with a bit of a bad right hand. He was steady and at times spectacular and error-free. He'll stay on the ground. It's going to be a loss in the backfield. Tez Parks is brought down. Couple of losses. Number 99, Brian Burns, the edge rusher out of Fort Lauderdale, with a stop.
He's an outstanding football player. The sophomore defensive end, 6'5", 227 pounds. One of the impact players for today. Third long situation here. Expect Florida State to heat up the pocket for Griggs.
And they do, throwing in direction of the pressure, but no luck. They're going to lose a yard there as Parks was brought down instantaneously. And you see Fagan in there on the stop. Cyrus Fagan, number 24.
They brought a 5-man pressure to the young quarterback. He recognized it, tried to get the ball out into space quickly, but the Florida State defense starting off tackling well in the open field.
So the redshirt freshman punter from Alabama, Zach Everett, will boot it. DJ Matthews, who averages almost 12 per return, awaits this one. A little bit of pressure on the rush, and the kicker is taken down. There is a flag down. This punt, it was returned at the 1. He grabbed it at the 1-yard line. Can Matthews get out of there? He can. He'll be brought down at the 10. Now, we'll be dealing with a 5-yard penalty or the 15-yard penalty. Running or roughing into the kicker means either a first down or 4th down. Referee from the MAC.
Personal foul. Roughing the kicker. Number 11, receiving team. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. 1st and 10.
That is on Janarius Robinson. So 2 15-yard penalties. We haven't even played 2 minutes yet.
Ouch. That's stubbing your toe right there. Getting out of bed. You know, it's very difficult as a guy trying to come in to block to determine, do I let up or do I run through the punt or the kick? That time there, Florida State players not making a wise decision, and now the Golden Eagles offense back out on the field after a very lucky break.
Yeah, you could see the speed of the FSU defense was certainly a factor on the opening drive, but all of a sudden the Golden Eagles are into Seminoles territory at the 47-yard line. And now the officials stop play.
Previous play is under review.
And the previous play is under review. And what's happening is the replay booth has buzzed down. They are wondering if that kick was touched. Now, the replay official, Steve Furjanic, his communicator, Don Bondi. Again, these guys are from the Mid-American Conference. And so if the ball is touched, that negates the foul.
I didn't see it the first go-round. You can tell by the trajectory once it kind of comes off. It's awfully close, but I don't think it did.
The punt went a long way. I mean, it rolled and rolled and rolled, and Matthews made a decision to grab it at the 1-yard line.
That's a better angle here by our camera guys and crew.
Now, the call on the field is a personal foul penalty. The ball was not touched, and it would be USM ball at the 47-yard line. And the referee is going to be back after a pretty quick decision.
After review, it is confirmed that the runner or the blocker did not touch the ball. There was a foul for roughing the kicker.
So as we suspected, and I don't think there was even a shred of evidence to overturn that call anyhow, so we stay with the ball at the 47-yard line on a new set of downs for Southern Mississippi. So Griggs, 56% passer. What I love here, Ahmad, is 15 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions on the year.
Very smart young quarterback. Does a good job also operating out of the run-pass options.
He'll sling it sidearm here to Ito Smith, 45, 43, 42-yard line. And you saw the elusiveness there of Smith, a gain of 5, 2nd and 5 coming up.
I love the fact that they're trying to find different ways to get Ito Smith the ball. If you're the Florida State defense, your ability to defend this offense starts and stops with Ito Smith, the running back. You've got to know where he's at all times and account for him, whether he's being released out in the flat from the backfield on a passing route or running the football.
Delayed handoff, Smith. He'll get a first down and a lot more to the 25-20. The race is on 15-10, inside the 10, and a touchdown-saving tackle there down to the 9-yard line. Just 33 yards.
Just right up the gut. A delay here which allowed him to see that seam, get through it. And here's where this kid is so special. Complete back with home run speed.
And they'll give it to him again. Look at the ability to move quickly in a crowd. Down to the 6-yard line. They may even say the 5-yard line.
And that, Dave, that's one of the best things about Ito Smith. It seems like every time he touches the ball, he makes the first man miss. And as a running back, that's your #1 job. Make the first guy miss because there's always someone unaccounted for.
2nd down and goal from the 5-yard line. 50% touchdowns for Southern Miss in red zone. This is a very good red zone defense for the Noles. Griggs, a lot of pressure there. He'll get it to Smith, but they're waiting for him. He'll get back to the line of scrimmage. Jacob Pugh making the tackle.
And Dave, you alluded to that red zone success. Southern Miss, with Griggs on the football field, is stronger when he's a starter. 16 touchdowns, 25 possessions. Compare that when he doesn't start, 5 touchdowns, 17 possessions. He changes the way his team plays down here because of his ability to run the RPO system and threat teams with his feet.
3rd and goal, plenty of time. Griggs has some room to run to the left. It's the foot race. Can he beat Burns to the end zone? Touchdown, USM. Well, there's one of the better foot races we'll watch today. Brian Burns and Quandre Griggs both racing for that pylon. And let's see if he did indeed get in.
Looked pretty clear to me, but right on cue. Griggs breaking the pocket, utilizing his creativity for what appears to be the first score of the ball game.
And they brought out the swinging gate, then closed it. And they've got an excellent kicker in Parker Schoenfield. First team All-Conference USA, also All-Academic in Conference USA. So the big personal foul penalty changed this drive. Instead of a punt, the PAT, by the way, was missed just for the 2nd time in his career. But the personal foul penalty kept the drive alive, and Quandre Griggs took full advantage and just eludes a defender to the end zone. The PAT was missed, but it was the Quandre Griggs touchdown run from 5 yards out that has put the Golden Eagles up. First, Florida State has not had the ball yet, however, so we'll see what happens. And the statistics say that's a bad omen for FSU based on what's happened this season. And a little breeze taking the ball off the tee belonging to Briggs Bourgeois, the kickoff specialist for USM. But this is going to be a real test. Top of the show, we talked about the focus for Florida State. They commit 2 15-yard personal foul penalties on special teams. And again, the ball goes down. Breeze has picked up a little bit, and again, it's at the back of the kicker, up to as much as 13 miles an hour. So Bourgeois now is going to need a holder. And it's going to feel a little cooler out there. The temperature right around 40 degrees. Get an idea. That is behind Bourgeois right now. So Curtis Michael will have to be the holder, and we'll see if that affects the kick. Not too bad. Taken here by Rasul. He'll take a knee, and it'll be a touchback, 25-yard line. So here is James Blackman. He didn't begin the season as the #1 quarterback, but took over in the Alabama game. He is actually the #1 true freshman passer in Florida State history. You got to go back to Chip Ferguson in 1985. That's who Blackman surpassed this year. Out of Belglade, Florida.
You see the talent and the potential when you watch this young man. You also see the fact that he's a freshman quarterback, the highs and the lows of the season. One thing that I really like is his running ability, but this is a young man that also is learning how to make the NFL throws that I think are necessary for him to win this job next year.
He's got two great backs right next to him, and a pre-snap penalty coming up. That'd have been the right tackle, Rick Leonard, who was a little early.
False start, number 76. Offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And now 15. I was about to say, in the backfield, he's got a couple of studs with him here as we take a look at the mistake.
And here's where having some of your leaders from your team not participate in this game could really affect you, because when this starts to happen, you've got to have an older guy, more experienced player, one of your captains, pull the team aside and say, we've got to calm our nerves because right now we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
And before we get another snap, or any snap, we're going to have another penalty. This one might be on USM, however. Draper.
Offside by contact, number 9. Defense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
So we go right back to 1st and 10, where we started. So a different formation for the Seminoles. Jacques Patrick, outstanding junior running back, number 9, and he'll get it, and he'll have a hole. And Patrick, a punishing, powerful runner, will get 8, almost 9. In fact, it will be 9 to the 34, 2nd and a yard coming up.
Yeah, he's the type of player that keeps defensive backs, linebackers up at night the day before the game against him. With his pure size, it's almost impossible to bang with him 10 to 12 times a game and to not feel that. So I'm looking to see how he wears down this Golden Eagles defense today with his pure frame and his running style.
So Jacques Patrick checks out. Number 3, Cam Akers, a different style of running back, and he's only a freshman, has come in.
Absolutely.
He'll get it. And he might get the first down, but that is all he's going to get. Bent back by the Southern Miss defense at the bottom there. Looked like Yancey, number 22, in there on the stop. Let's get to some impact players here from Ahmad today for this game.
Yeah, let me start with that freshman running back, Cam Akers. He can make multiple defenders miss. And also, Jacques Patrick, as we talked about, the big, powerful running back. And on the defensive side, watch for the young freshman, number 41, Rakeem Booth. This young man can make plays. He's very versatile. And last but not least, the free safety, Tavarius Moore, quick to diagnose plays and make things happen.
Blackman stepping in, pocket, throws long. As the catch made inbounds? No. And Florida State, as Auden Tate tried to make the grab, is missing Nyquan Murray, a late scratch. The junior from Orlando had 40 catches and 4 touchdowns on the season, but he is not available today for James Blackman.
And I think that's a major hit to this offense. One of the more dynamic playmakers in the ACC. And Murray is one of those types of players that is your home run threat and also can stretch the defense with his speed.
Ruling on the field was an incomplete pass. Previous play is under review.
And the booth wants a look for, see whether he was inbounds or out of bounds. The call on the field is incomplete. From our distance, it looked like he was out of bounds, but we're going to find out and take a much closer look. And I think the call on the field is going to stand. This should be fairly quick.
Outstanding effort. And Blackman perhaps had enough room over there to get that ball in a small and tight window, just a tad bit off of his target.
And you see a little of the tires kick up. And again, the referee with the headset off very quickly.
After review, the ruling of an incomplete pass stands.
So 2nd down and 10 coming up. Seminoles with their first possession at the 35-yard line. A great effort there by Tate. Tremendous concentration, but just could not handle the pass. And again, thrown into the wind, too, could be a little bit of a problem.
And if you're a Southern Miss on defense, you want to try to adjust to the many formations and the various looks that Florida State gives you. As of now, they bring Blackman under center. They will do that all game long.
They do. 2 tight ends as well, but Southern Miss equal to the task. No gain on the play at all for Jaquez Patrick.
And there goes Rakeem Booth. This young man has a nose for the football. Bright, young, strong side linebacker at 6 foot, 210 pounds. He'll grow into that frame some more, but currently still a force. And now with a 3rd and long situation, this is where you have to hand the ball over in the offense to your young quarterback, Blackman, and hope he makes a wise decision.
Wow, we have a timeout. We have had a ton of whistles in this game, and we're only at the 9:26 mark. The Golden Eagles are going to call a timeout.
It will also be a media timeout.
So we will step aside here and find out what the call is for Florida State. And a skeleton coaching staff. They don't even have a full staff for this game. They trail 6-0.
The Walk-On's Independence Bowl, brought to you by Walk-On's Bistro and Bar. It's like game day with a taste of Louisiana. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, providers of the Walk-On's Independence Bowl trophy, and Franklin American Mortgage. It all begins with home.
That was an unbelievable catch by that young man there at Providence House. The NFL has ruled, however, he did not complete the process of the catch. We thought it was a catch. Anyway, both teams volunteered to spend times at Providence House, and I know the young people there really appreciated that. You will appreciate our keys to the game, brought to you by Franklin American Mortgage Company. What do you got?
For Florida State, offensively, they got to secure the line of scrimmage, must protect their quarterback, create running lanes. Defensively for the Seminoles, dominate run defense, persistently defend running back Smith and quarterback Griggs. And for Southern Miss, establish playmakers early, which they have done. And defensively, they want to pressure the quarterback and change the post-snap picture this young freshman quarterback is seeing on defense.
So 3rd down and 10 from the 35-yard line. USM burned one of their timeouts. They have 2 remaining in this half. Jaquez Patrick is the tailback, number 9. Four-man rush. Blackman, long throw, caught 45-yard line. 1st down. Tate this time well in bounds, made the catch, cut down by number 21, Rashawn Mitchell. 1st and 10, Seminoles.
That's a big-time throw for James Blackman. He throws it from the opposite hash to the out. That's what NFL scouts are looking for. The timing wasn't great, but the location of that pass was on the money. And Tate at 6'5", 225 pounds. Boy, is this kid a major target for the Seminoles.
Now, though, the student body left with Patrick, but USM equal to the task, and you can see celebrating that tackle. Number 3, Cornell Armstrong, a senior cornerback with a stop.
And that's how you've got to attack Patrick. You've got to cut those trees down, those legs, those trunks. Because if you don't and he gets going and he can generate some power from those legs, it's going to be a long day and a lot of jerseys laying on the ground that are yellow.
Roddy, we got to meet him yesterday. Has your hand recovered yet from the handshake you got from Jaquez Patrick?
Yeah, Jaquez Patrick, he about broke my hand with the handshake. The guy's built like a defensive end. He's 6'3". He's listed at, 230, but I don't know, guys. He could pack 250 on that frame and still run like he is. As a smaller running back, you look at guys like that and you just say, man, we all were not created equal. He is a physical specimen.
And I got to think, guys, if we're talking about somebody at 6'3", 230 on a talent-laden team that's got a potential to play at the next level.
100%.
He's out of the game. Cam Akers is in. Blackman down the seam. Receiver open and is broken up in the last second at the 15-yard line. Gavin was the intended receiver. And on the drive again, another play made by Armstrong.
I've got to say that I think that ball was thrown in a very safe location by Blackman. He saw the one-on-one coverage that you'll see here the right side of your screen coming across to the middle. And if you're Keith Gavin, you've got to bring this ball in at 6'3", 221 pounds. Use that big frame, block out that defensive back, and go make that play. But give Cornell Armstrong credit, the vocal leader of this defense, stepping up and making a timely play for the Golden Eagles.
That should be 5 yards in the Seminoles column, as Darian Yancey was just a touch anxious, pushing back the center, Alec Eberle.
Offside by contact. Number 22, defense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
And all of a sudden, a much more reasonable 3rd down and 6.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It changes what they do, and especially considering you have a dual-threat quarterback in Blackman. Zone read, run-pass options are ideal for these situations because you really run in 3 plays, and now you tell your quarterback to get you in the best one, as Florida State is trying to convert on this 3rd down.
Another offside coming, a free play and a horrible snap. So Akers falls on it at the 25-yard line. This is going to be really painful for USM because it certainly appeared the right end was offsides. They lost 25, but it looks like it's going to be erased.
Offside. Defense. Number 99. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Turner was the player offsides.
Finally, a break goes the Seminoles' way.
He almost got back. It's still 3rd down. We've gone from 3rd and 11 to 3rd and 1. They brought number 9, Patrick, back in at the tailback position.
It looks like they're going to line up in center. I would fully expect Patrick to get the carry here.
Maybe even a sneak since Blackman is 6'5". It is Patrick. And, oh, look at the strength. Carrying defenders to the 43 and a 1st down. He was hit by Riley at the line of scrimmage, and it is still a 1st down.
Yeah, this guy is a second effort type tailback, and Alec Eberle praised him right in front of us yesterday with Patrick in the room. He said, Coach Trickett, our offensive line coach, loves this guy because initial contact does not bring him down, and he plays with the same aggression that an offensive lineman is supposed to.
Rick Trickett, one of the real legends of this game as a line coach. Blackman now out in space. This is Patrick. Makes one man miss. There is a penalty marker down at the 40-yard line. Gain is about 4. Let's see what this flag is all about. We've had a lot of them in this first quarter. I think we're going to get another offsides call.
Offside. Defense, number 9. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 1st down.
That's Riley hit again, the sophomore from Harvey, Louisiana. And the referee didn't say by contact this time. And you see why. So another 5-yard penalty. 1st and 5. Akers is the tailback this time. They'll hand it to him. He's got a hole. Tell you what, USM, it looked like that play Ahmad was going to bust. And I give the Golden Eagles defense credit because Paxton Scrimsher, number 30, and number 7, Jomez Applewhite, closed that in a hurry.
Oh, they swarm. There's one thing you won't say about this defense. They get after you, and they play extreme team defense, and they're going to have to today to tackle these backs, whether it's Akers, who can make multiple defenders miss, or whether it's Patrick, who can just run right through you. They've got to use team defense to combat the versatility of the backfield for the Seminoles.
Blackman had plenty of time. Pass caught by number 89, Keith Gavin. Gavin made the first man miss, and down to the 24-yard line, another FSU 1st down.
Those easy throws for Blackman can really get him settled in and feeling good about himself, and that's when you can take those shots downfield. Excellent run after the catch for Keith Gavin. Nice little stutter step. Stop on the sideline on a dime. pick up some extra yardage.
Part of the 3-game win streak for USM. They have kept opponents out of the end zone in the first quarter in the last 3 games. Blackman going to take off here. Ooh, hard hit at the 20-yard line as he turned. He was not sliding. Rakeem Booth, number 41, hit him high, and Kelsey Douglas also had his arms around him.
Yeah, that play was defended brilliantly. Watch the pop here on the end of this play. You don't want your quarterback taking these types of shots.
There wasn't anything dirty about it either. 12th play of the drive coming up.
And guys, James Blackman is listed at 6'5", but only 169 pounds.
Yikes.
Not only is he a quarterback, but he's pretty slight. Hasn't quite filled into that weight room program yet.
As the time, receiver open, caught, touchdown, Seminoles, Auden Tate. For Tate, his 8th touchdown catch of the season.
Outstanding touch and timing from the young quarterback as you get the ISO here on Tate. Beats the jam, releases perfectly, secures the catch. And at 6'5", 225, I'm not sure you could have knocked that ball or jarred it loose anyhow had you been the Golden Eagles defender. And Florida State now up 7-6.
And the difference in this game so far, Ahmad, a missed extra points. Plenty of time to provided by the Seminole offensive line, and Blackman and Tate do the rest. So Florida State responds, and you think about the biggest play so far in this game was the offside penalty that negated a 25-yard loss on a bad snap by Florida State that allowed that drive to stay alive, and the catch made by Tate. So both touchdown drives have been impacted by mistakes by the defense. You had personal foul penalties, actually a special teams personal foul penalty that allowed the Golden Eagles to keep going, and then you had the big break for Florida State, and they both have cashed in. The difference, a missed PAT. Into the wind, and you can see the breeze affecting that. Smith comes up, makes a tough catch at the 15, and look at Smith go here to the 38-yard line. That's a 25-yard return. Tyler on the stop. And we'll take a look now at our impact players, and we just saw one of them.
Yeah, Ito Smith, he's a complete back. I love the fact that he's returning kicks and putting that on film for the NFL. And the wide receiver, number 18, Corey Robertson. Competitive nature, NFL measurables allows him to play at a high level. And defensively for Florida State, cornerback number 4, Tavares McFadden, aggressive, strong, and talented quarterback that has the potential to be a lockdown player. And then last but not least, the sophomore defensive end, Brian Burns, who's already gotten on the stat sheet. He diagnosed and reacts to plays extremely well in the run and the pass.
Fake one way, throw the other, and man, that was read by the Seminole defense. I don't even know how the catch was made by Corey Robertson, and maybe a yard on the play. Seminoles diagnosed this perfectly.
This is great coverage, you know, and this is what you have to do if you're McFadden. You've got to hug on to that wide receiver, and the minute you see him coming back in, you've got to run that route for him. And right on cue, as we talked about McFadden, he comes out and makes an outstanding play on a wide receiver screen.
And he was rumored to not be playing in this game. We'll talk about that here in a second, as that's a beautiful throw. McFadden on the coverage. The catch by Robertson into Seminole territory at the 47, a gain of a dozen. There are Florida State players, Ahmad, as you well know, who are not here, most notably Derwin James, also Matthew Thomas and Josh Sweat, all choosing to eschew the bowl game to focus on their NFL hopes. Tez Parks on the carry. He's in big trouble, and he will lose yards. Back to the 49, a loss of 4, 2nd and 14 coming up, and there's 99 again. Brian Burns, speaking of people who may well have an NFL future.
Oh, there's no doubt. From what I've been able to see on film, it appears as though maybe these guys got caught on each other's helmets or something.
Well, hopefully nobody's injured on the play.
Yeah, it looked like their face mask got caught up. But Burns, I mean, boy, at 6'5", 227 pounds, they really like this kid. His ability not only to defend against the run, despite not being the weight they'd like him to be, but he can also drop back in coverage and is very comfortable doing so. And you saw him there track down a running back. Just goes to show you his athletic ability.
Quarterback draw. Griggs playing off a beautiful block, and Griggs puts his helmet down and gets to the 43 to get 9. And that's going to be an interesting third down, about 6 coming up.
I think that's the most important part today of this Southern Miss offense. His ability to extend plays when things break down on the back end, with his wide receivers or pass catches ability to be able to create separation, make something happen with your feet, Griggs. And right now, that's his strength. And so I think he needs to stick to it. It's really going to be something that this offense will rely on today to have success versus the Seminoles.
And Ahmad, that's where Florida State misses Derwin James. He was the guy on these third down packages that would roll down and kind of play middle linebacker and spy the quarterback.
Great point, Roddy.
Big pressure here from the Noles. The slant pattern broken up. Would have been short of the first down anyway. Adams was the intended receiver. And look who broke it up. Burns was in the neighborhood, but that was Nate Andrews, number 29. That's the first miss for Griggs today.
And it wasn't thrown in the right location, but I think the wide receiver could have given perhaps a better effort. And Florida State bowing their back up here and forcing a punt and giving it back to this offense that is coming off of a scoring drive.
Well, the last time we had a punt, we had a penalty. This time Florida State sort of rushes one. Fair catch signal made by Matthews. This will go into the end zone and touchback to the 20-yard line. Bowl Mania rolling on today with a couple of more games. Following us on ESPN at 5:15 Eastern, Iowa will take on Boston College in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium. And at 9 Eastern, Big 12 rivals. I love this. In the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl, Missouri and Texas. Both games, of course, are available on the ESPN app. Missouri had an awful start to their season, and Texas had been up and down all year, but Drew Lock was probably the hottest quarterback in the SEC at the end of the year.
And then on the opposite side, you've got the Texas Longhorns, who are trying to find out who's the guy. Is it Shane Buechele, the sophomore, or is it the young freshman, Sam Ellinger, who is going to be the guy moving forward? And I think this game today will go a long way in determining that in off-season training and for spring ball.
I think that's a sneaky good game right there, those two teams. Very even matchup. Jacquez Patrick trying to find some room, and I tell you what, USM has been tough on run defense. They give up 132 per game, and a gain of 2 there. Sangster among the tacklers, number 26.
Applewhite with the stop, gain of 2.
In fact, this Southern Miss defense, 17th in the nation in total defense. It's a good unit. Blackman down the middle of the field. There's the tight end, Izzo with a catch. Oh, man, did he get hit. That's just something he kind of ran into. He was stood up. And number 5, Walden Davis, a redshirt junior, finished him off. But Izzo will get the first down on his 15th catch of the year, one he won't easily forget.
Yeah, and then Davis misses on the first part of it. In the second effort, he comes back. You see him there, the miss. Watch him get up off of the turf and come back and bring the wood. What a great effort there from Izzo to pick up the first down and keep the chains moving.
And a perfect tackle by Davis. They're going to screen it out here to Akers, and it was well read, but Akers made the defenders miss, makes another one miss, and what could have been a loss or maybe no gain is a 5-yard gain for Florida State on the ability of the freshman Cam Akers.
And this is where he's special right here. His elusiveness stands out when you watch film. This should have been a tackle for loss, no doubt about it. They even had numbers to the ball, but his shiftiness and his ability to get out of tackles and his vision, this young man is going to be special for sure for the Seminoles moving forward.
Coming up the 1-minute mark, want to remind everybody we're going to be hearing from Willie Taggart in our booth. He will join Ahmad and I in the second quarter as Akers gets the first down to the 45-yard line. Applewhite on the stop. So we'll get Willie Taggart's vision for this Florida State team.
And this offense will significantly change under Willie Taggart. And for those of you that are wondering if any changes have been implemented this week, they have not. Willie Taggart has just been on the sideline. He's been evaluating players, trying to pull guys off one-on-one and really determine the state of this program and also recruit as well. But this offense will look very different headed into 2018.
But the defensive line won't, as Odell Higgins is going to stay around for more years for the Garnet and Gold, down to 17 seconds, a 6-yard pickup there. And that is pretty sure that is going to be the final play of the quarter. As a matter of fact, Florida State showing no interest in snapping. That will be the end of one. The Seminoles on the move, 7-6, an eventful first quarter. Southern Miss gets a touchdown but can't convert to PAT. Aguayo made his for Florida State. And the Noles in front, looking for a 7th win and trying to avoid a losing season. It has been decades since Florida State has had one in football. Welcoming back, second quarter, the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl in Shreveport. Florida State, just 4 seasons ago, when they won their national championship, had perhaps the best offense in the nation. Statistically, they were right near the top. 3 seasons later, solid, but this season, not solid. And it's one of the reasons they had a 6-6 season and had to scramble down the stretch, win 3 in a row, to become bowl eligible for a 36th straight year. Well represented, though, by the folks from Tallahassee and the Panhandle who have made it over. We start the quarter, 2nd down and 4.
And I don't see how those offensive numbers are going to change, how they won't change with Willie Taggart taking the helm.
Now, you're not just saying that because he's standing in between us, right? On 2nd and 4, Blackman, deep drop. He'll throw out on the flat. Catch made by Patrick. Makes the first defender miss. Makes another one miss. Makes a 3rd miss. And he's finally dragged down out of bounds at the 33-yard line.
Now listen, I played at the University of Texas, and one of the GOATs there is Earl Campbell. I'm not putting him in the Earl Campbell category, Dave. All I'm saying is trying to tackle this guy who's busting out of the seams is you've got to bring everything you've got. You got to bring your big boy pads. Patrick, one of the more difficult runners in all of college football to drag down, and once again showing that as he makes 3 miss for the Golden Eagles.
I don't think he has the thighs that big.
He does.
I can't even imagine
you're right.
how that guy ever fit into a pair of pants without ripping them or anything. Down the middle of the field, catch made and a big hit just shy of the 5-yard line. Tate with another great grab. Armstrong defended him. Moore is the one who hit him high and hard, but no flag. And the first down for the Noles is the 7-yard line.
Yeah, if you want to be the man and you're Tate, this is what you got to do. Catch balls in traffic. You've got this big, large frame. Utilize it at 6'5", 225 pounds. Blackman here puts a dart right in there, and he saw the pressure coming, saw the contact, did not avoid the hit, hauls in the catch. Tate, with already some big catches today, looking to make a name for himself.
Flags are all over the place. Seen a few of these today. Looks like we're going to get procedure against Florida State, who have scored in their last 21 red zone opportunities consecutively.
Number 6, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And 18 of the last 19 for scores. That's Trey McKitty, who's moved up the depth chart as a reserve tight end. He will check out after that mistake. And they also take Izzo out of the game. So a different look here for Florida State, back now 1st and goal at the 12.
Yeah, those yards change how you call plays here, especially in the red zone when you've got that 12th defender, which is the back line. But also remember, here's where Blackman really makes this team special because of his running abilities in the red zone.
And there he goes, right on cue. Inside the 5, down to the 4-yard line. That's a solid pickup. Booth in there on the stop, number 41. They're going to say his knee touched at the 5, so it'll be 2nd and goal from there.
Yeah, the designed quarterback run. Blackman really showing the stronger part of his skill set, and with that large frame, he still does a very good job of maneuvering his body and his frame to get through tight creases, and despite being taller, runs a little bit lower than you would expect a guy that big, limiting the target that you can hit.
They bring in the bulk now. The 2 tight end formation is back. Patrick flagged down behind the play at the 6-yard line.
Flag on the play.
The center judge threw that one, and quickly. Yep, holding call against Florida State.
That's already for Florida State.
Number 54, offense.
Their fourth
10-yard
penalty.
penalty from the previous spot. Replay. Second down.
That's the center, the redshirt junior, Alec Eberle.
And we'll get a look here, but Florida State with some costly penalties. It started off early on in the game defensively, giving up 2 to extend a drive where Southern Miss scored. Coming back here, and you need these yards down here in the red zone if you want to punch one in.
So we go back 2nd and goal, but now we're at the 15-yard line. Tight ends come out. Now we're going to have an offsides call. Free play here for Blackman. And there's no defender for Akers. He'll walk into the end zone. Touchdown. Let's make sure it's an offsides call.
Offside. Number 9. Defense. Penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
So more red zone success for the Garnet and Gold.
And that is 22 consecutive red zone chances, and they've scored on 22 in a row. Great job of slipping Akers out into the flat. This is a bust defensively. That's a guy that you don't want to lose track of, and for the Golden Eagles, they do, and it cost them giving up a touchdown.
Oh, and a doink on the PAT. So we have had 2 point-after touchdowns from very reliable kickers missed. The goalpost and the never loses these battles. As Chris Berman would say, doink.
The Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, brought to you by Walk-Ons Bistro and Bar. It's like game day with a taste of Louisiana. And Ford, going further so you can.
I don't know if it's because we have Ahmad Brooks here or that Mac Brown is on the game following us, but this is Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, and very much a part of the great city of Shreveport, our host for the Walk-On Independence Bowl. And you take a look at Florida State leading 13-6. We've had both teams now missing PATs. I mean, we're not talking about bad turf here or grass or anything like that. It's just little mistakes made by the kickers. Turf here is field turf. It's in great shape. And kickoff drifting toward the goal line, caught at the 1 by Tez Parks. And Parks had to hesitate, and hesitating on a KOR is rough. He won't even get to the 20-yard line. The ESPN app is your best friend as a fan. You can stream every ESPN and ABC college football game live or wherever you may be. You'll get access to scores, news, and highlights of all the bowl games, and you can download the app to start streaming right now. If you got someplace to be today, when you're returning all the Christmas gifts you didn't like, you take the app with us, watch the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, and see if Quadre Griggs can get a score back for Southern Miss.
These are critical moments for a young quarterback, especially when things start off well for you. Now you're trying to get back into your groove and find your rhythm. Short throws, maybe even allowing him to utilize his feet is another way to get him going.
They go on the ground and outside the 20 to the 23-yard line. It's Ito Smith, a multi-purpose back, the all-time total yardage leader in USM history. They've had some outstanding players come through Southern Mississippi. And Ito, yes, if you're an O.J. Simpson trial person, as Roddy mentioned at the start of the show, Ito, he was named. That's not on his birth certificate, but that was the nickname he was given as a baby. He's in motion there. They fake the jet sweep, and Griggs goes the other way. He'll get to the 30, and he is embraced by Tavares McFadden and dragged down at the 31-yard line, but it's still going to be a first down.
That's a big collision here, and as I alluded to it, making sure you get him started with his feet. That time there, the defensive back, McFadden, not expecting the quarterback to lower that shoulder, and he did. And Griggs, 6'3", 225 pounds. He's packing a punch.
He's averaging almost 8 yards per carry on 3 tries. Has some time here. Can't find an open man. Now down the middle in the double. Oh, look at the receiver. Find the ball. Then it's It's dropped, and it's going to be ruled incomplete. Quez Watkins had his hands on it. He did a remarkable job to find the ball, but ultimately he could not hang on. It's second down.
I'm glad you talked about his spotting ability when the ball was in the air, because his ball was underthrown. He had to come back. And the defensive backs for Florida State, particularly Nate Andrews, who's coming underneath to provide underneath coverage, just overruns it. And a great adjustment there to come back to the ball. Just couldn't finish the catch. Quez Watkins missed an opportunity for a big throw.
It was Kyle Myers who ended up breaking up the play, so they go back to Smith. That's always a smart call. He'll get solidly 5 yards there, sets up third down and 5. By the way, Smith in FBS, over 4,000 yards on the ground and over 1,400 yards as a receiver. That puts him 10th all time. That's how good he has been.
That's impressive.
Adams in motion. Quick throw. Too high. McFadden in coverage that time, and depending on who you're rooting for, that was either a great defensive play or pass interference.
And this is where McFadden excels. He's very aggressive. He's assertive on the edge. He likes to press. He loves the challenge of locking people up one-on-one. Very aggressive play that end in his favor.
So Zach Everett will be back. Now, this is the first time that he has had to punt into this wind, which is about 10 to 15 miles an hour at times, and DJ Matthews is back deep.
DJ Matthews back deep to receive the punt.
Little pressure coming this time. The rugby kick comes out low with a lot of spin. And Matthews with a smart play there to hustle up to grab that at the 30-yard line. That could still be rolling if he doesn't do that. We promise you a chance with new Florida State head coach Willie Taggart. He'll be joining Ahmad and I in the booth here at the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl when we come back.
Second quarter of action. Florida State.
Willie Taggart, as a head coach at Western Kentucky, got that program really going before he left to go to Tampa and the University of South Florida. Got that program really going. Then went to Oregon for a year, but has come back to Florida. The Bradenton native is now, of course, the head coach at Tallahassee. He joins Ahmad and I. Congratulations first on the job.
Thank you very much.
And if you don't mind telling the story a little bit again about the decision, how torn you were between Eugene, which is a great spot, and coming back to Florida.
It was tough. Rob Mullins gave me an opportunity to go to Oregon and be a Power 5 coach, and everything was on the up and up. We was recruiting well. We got the program back winning, and made great relationships with our alumni, our boosters, and more importantly with our players. And that was tough because those young men, they bought into everything we did there and everything we asked them to do, and that helped with the turnaround. So it was really tough making that decision, but it was one of those decisions, like I said, it was one of those things, like I say, it was a dream job, and so it was tough from that standpoint.
Well, certainly you've had a hectic last few weeks. How would you describe it?
It's been fun. Now it's the 4th time taking over a program. We're kind of used to it a little bit, the challenges that comes with it, and it's been fun. The people in Tallahassee are really excited, and you go out recruiting, players are excited, and you get a lot of phone calls from coaches, so it's just part of the challenge.
Coach, when you have a blue blood program like Florida State, I always tell people like myself going to Texas, you don't choose those places choose you. And why Florida State, and was it the only job you would have left Eugene for to take a head coaching opportunity?
It was. Florida State's always been that dream job for me. As a kid, I always wanted to play at Florida State. Wasn't good enough. I wish Coach Bowden would have recruited me there and probably would have had another national championship. But it's been that dream job, something you've been working really hard to get to that point, and not in a million years I thought it would happen right now, and yes, this was the only job I would have left Eugene for. Had a great thing going there in Eugene, great people, great administration, and having a relationship with Phil Knight was big time.
Yeah, we have an injury, unfortunately. It is a Seminole. It's Izzo who is shaken up on the play. The Seminoles have moved down into Southern Miss territory. As you looked over this team, how do you what do you look at? What have you seen so far as you have been able to watch some practices for the bowl prep and all the recruiting and that? What have you seen out of this group?
It's a lot of talent out there, and being able to watch practice was pretty cool to see, and guys flying around. I think Odell has done a great job of keeping the team together, considering all the things they've been through the last couple of weeks. And for them to fight like they did at the end to get bowl eligible said a lot about this football team.
And just from the observation of being now in Tallahassee, what have you seen, and is this still the job that you expected it to be once you arrived?
It is. You know, we have great players. I told one of my buddies the other day, there's some toys out there to work with now. You know, great players. We just got to get back to playing team football, you know, and playing with passion and being excited about.
And right on cue, Willie, as soon as you said that, we just saw Akers make a play that very few people can do. He was absolutely trapped behind the line and is able to burst into the clear for a 32-yard gain. This is an important opportunity for you, obviously. You've had other chances to build up. I don't know if you ever walked into a place with those kind of toys before. I mean, Oregon maybe, but still, I mean, you've got Akers, you've got some guys coming back. How much salesmanship have you done with the current players?
For me personally, just trying to get to know those guys, you know, and that's going to take some time for me to get to know each and every last one of them. But getting to know them getting to know me is really key for us all coming together. And I think for a football team, that's one thing we have to do is come together. And I would love to see these guys play for each other. And I think once we see that, we'll see something special in this football team again.
And Ahmad and I are talking with Florida State's new head coach, Willie Taggart.
Yeah, speaking of coming together, assembling your staff is the next big project for you. I heard you say early in the week you will not rush this process. You want to make sure you get the right guys. How's that process coming along, Coach?
Oh, it's going well. Like I said, getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of interest in being here, but it's so important that we get the right fit, you know, for what we want to do at Florida State. And like I said, I got a lot of options. I just want to get the right guys in there to help us lead these young men.
Well, there's a drop in the end zone, a receiver wide open, unable to hang on to it. A move you made, Odell Haggins is going to stay. He is a Florida State guy through and through. What was behind that decision?
Well, I just watched Odell over the last couple of weeks with the football team and how much respect those players have for him, and his passion for Florida State has been big time, and been on the road with him recruiting. He does a great job recruiting. He's great in the home, but it's easy to be great at that when you're passionate about something, you believe in something. And he's Florida State through and through, and something that, again, when I talk about fit, he's the kind of guy I want on this football team.
For all the Florida State fans that are watching this game right now, many of them are expecting offensive changes. What can they expect to see from your offense with you as the head coach of Florida State?
I don't think they'll see a huddle again.
I like it.
And I think you'll see the tempo pick up a little more than what you've seen here lately. But, again, we're going to try to get our guys in space and let these athletes do what they do and try to score a lot of points. We like explosive plays and trying to have a lot of explosive plays in this offense.
We have a 29-yard field goal attempt coming up here for Aguayo. Made 15 of his last 16 field goals. Haven't had kicked that many lately, actually. Only one since November 4th, the Syracuse game. And this one is true, so the Seminoles expand their lead to 16-6. We want to thank you, Willie, very much for your time. We want to wish you the very best in Tallahassee with the Seminoles, and I know everybody in Seminole Nation is very, very excited.
Thank you guys very much for having me on, and hope to see you in Tallahassee one day.
Love to do
Indeed.
it. Noles up by 10. We'll return to Shreveport in a moment.
ESPN coverage is streaming live on the ESPN app. Download now and take ESPN everywhere.
Well, Friday on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. It's the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, and it could well be that. Sam Darnold, number 8 USC. J.T. Barrett, number 5 Ohio State. Also available on ESPN and the ESPN app. They've moved the Rose Bowl to Texas. This is an old Rose Bowl battle. You want to see John McKay and Woody Hayes coaching this.
Give me the Buckeyes. Give me the Buckeyes. This will be a fun matchup to follow. Darnold, who I thought really struggled at the beginning of the year, really started to find his rhythm toward the latter part of the year. And J.T. Barrett was just one of those guys that was up for the Heisman conversation. And until his team had some late losses, I thought he's done a fantastic job of leading the Buckeyes this season.
And that one will be a ton of fun on Friday night. This one's been very interesting. Florida State's had 3 possessions. They've scored 3 times. Lead it by 10. This will be Parks. Couple of yards deep in the end zone. He wants to go. Stumbled a bit, and that's going to cost him. So instead of perhaps the 25-yard line, the Seminoles cover it beautifully, and out to the 13 for Quadre Griggs and the offense for Southern Miss. Griggs 5 of 8 for 19 yards, and that is all of the passing game. He actually has more rush yards than passing yards.
And I think that's where he's going to be more successful, is utilizing his feet. And if he can continue to put pressure on this Florida State defense and make them account for him, as I've said earlier in the broadcast, I think that's the best way to defeat this Seminoles defense.
He's come in off a hot hand. His last 3 games, he had 7 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and completed over 60% of his passes. They take Ito Smith and split him out to the right side with 2 other receivers, so an empty set here for Griggs. He'll keep it. As is so often the case with empty sets and running quarterbacks, they keep the football. And DeMarcus Christmas, number 90, clogged up that lane, maybe a yard.
A great recognition from the defensive line for Florida State. And I'm sure they were communicating that along the line of scrimmage when you go into that empty look and you move Ito Smith out wide where he's very comfortable and comparable to a wide receiver in terms of what he can do on the edges.
This is Smith. Notice how he follows the blocker and gets outside the 20 to the 21. It'll be 3rd down and 2 coming up. Smith just literally put his hand on the back of the blocker to be guided through the hole.
Yeah, and that's one to follow. Drake Dorbeck, 6'6", 320 pounds from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I'd follow that guy too, and Ito with his cutting abilities, and Roddy can tell you, he's just one of those guys that's very special in making guys miss, limiting the amount of space that you can attack and tackle. Ito Smith, an impressive prospect.
Yeah, even if you find him in the hole, he's still liable to make you miss. As they say, he can make you miss in a phone booth.
If only there were phone booths anymore. Nothing on that play at all. The Seminole defense rises up. And it'll be 4th down and 2.
Timeout
and
for
with training staff now for Florida State having to jog onto the field. That is number 18, Roderick Hoskins out of Orlando, a redshirt senior, fighting to get to his feet. And he is able to get up, but he's going to need a little help to get toward that sideline. And looks like the punt unit out again, and again another into the wind punt for Everett.
A great defensive series there from Florida State, particularly that defensive line that got stout there, and it's going to give this Seminoles offense a great opportunity to steal some field position and have an opportunity to strike from a short distance.
Six minutes left in this half. A little bit of pressure. A lot of roll on this kick. Oh, look out there. Matthews faking his way to grabbing the football, had almost touched it, but it'll be at the 33-yard line. We like to call this the most wonderful time of the year, and we've got 3 more bowl games for you Thursday on ESPN. At 1:30 Eastern, Virginia and the Naval Academy in the Military Bowl, presented by Northrop Grumman. Then at 5:15, number 22, Virginia Tech squares off against number 19, Oklahoma State in the Camping World Bowl. And then at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, the Valero Alamo Bowl, number 13, Stanford, number 15, TCU. All these games on the ESPN app. Bryce Love, almost 2,000 yards this season coming into the game.
One of my favorite players to watch, and one of the best memories was watching him battle during the Pac-12 title game through injuries to still play in that game and be effective.
Blackman will take off, and he hasn't been touched yet till he's finally shoved into a trunk at the 45-yard line. That's a gain of 12 and a first down. Moore shoved him away. And notice quickly Odell Hagen's grabbing Blackman and just tell him, hey, relax, don't say anything, walk away.
Yeah, with this long stride this kid has, it doesn't appear as though he's really moving that fast, but those long strides are eating up turf and grass. And as a defender, you've really got to gauge, because tackling is a science. You've got to gauge, is a guy fast enough? Does he have moves? Does he use power? And Blackman's one of those more difficult players to determine how to tackle him and how fast he's actually going.
Play action fake there. Blackman steps into a pass down the middle of the field and is tipped. Tavarius Moore got a hand on it, knocked it away. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Great effort. They went max protect, wanting to take a shot downfield. But the middle of the field safety doing an excellent job getting underneath this and making a play just in the nick of time. That ball goes over the top, coming from the backside actually, to break up that pass.
Well, that's the very definition of the position that Moore plays, free safety. Honorable mention in Conference USA this year. Moore, the leading tackler for Southern Miss. Blackman in some trouble. Scrambling right. A lot of contact, and I don't know who you call that on. Moore was locked up with Gavin. They both grabbed each other. And it's going to go against Southern Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a defensive back here, but I think you let them play through this contact.
Can you
Pass
help it?
interference. Defense, number 19. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. 1st and 10.
Well, here's the predicament, because this ball is underthrown. So immediately when the wide receiver comes back to make a play on the ball, are you supposed to just let him get back in position to catch the ball? And I thought there he turned around at the right time. That to me seemed like a pushing match that you could have allowed play through contact. I thought Moore was good in coverage on that play, good enough at least to not have been called for pass interference.
After that penalty, it goes to the 39-yard line into USM territory. Patrick on the carry. Bumps into his own man. Still fighting, and he'll get a yard. All on individual effort. And they're going to say no gain. They say his knee down to the 39-yard line. Riley in there, number 9 on the stop.
And we talked to center Alec Eberly, who's a bright young man, the center for the Seminoles team, and he talked about how early on this offensive line really struggled. You know, they had a hard time pass protecting. They had a hard time creating running lanes. And that this unit has tried to keep this team together despite everything that has happened surrounding this program. And that time there, Southern Miss whipped them at the line of scrimmage and was in the running back's face.
Blackman, straight keeper here, going to go left. And USM pretty quick on that one. There's Moore again. Maybe a yard.
Yeah, Moore's got the right demeanor to play at the next level. The senior from Quitman, Mississippi, was my impact player for the game. He's very active, one of the top tacklers in the conference. But you see him here. He has no problem putting his nose in there, feeding up ball carriers, and dragging them to the ground. Now a 3rd and long situation here. Expect some movement, pre-snap movement from the Golden Eagles to confuse Blackman.
He's in some trouble. Hit as he throws, coming back, and it's incomplete. 25-yard line, penalty marker down. Preliminary indication it's on the
Holding.
nose.
Number 76. Offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Now, 4th down is the 38-yard line. And the decision is to bring out the punter, Logan Tyler. Now, Ahmad, who could be joining Roddy Jones?
What? My guy, my favorite defensive back of all time.
His too.
Good point. Primetime Deion Sanders is in the building. Roddy, I'm so jealous that you're going to get a chance to talk to perhaps the best defensive back of all time, in my opinion.
And that will check up and then take a roll into the end zone for the touchback, 20-yard line. So Primetime joins Roddy Jones on the field when we return to the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl.
Welcome back to Shreveport, where I'm here with an absolute legend, the GOAT, Deion Sanders. Is it cold enough out here for you?
It's freezing. It is freezing out here. I'm not joking. My son is up there in the box chilling, texting me about how warm it is in the box up there.
Now, I heard you were texting with Brett Favre. He was down on the sideline, but he's up in the box now, too, so you're the only one down here freezing.
And if I had known he was coming, we'd have put a little suitable wager on the game.
You guys had a lot of great battles, you and Brett. What's your best memory of him? Obviously, he's a Southern Miss alum, but what's your best memory of him?
Taking him shopping when he played for the Falcons. You know, I went shopping for him in the inner city.
Pass incomplete.
that was hilarious. And I don't think he wore any of the clothing that I purchased for him.
Now I see you're around the program. You're around talking to these guys.
I'm back.
What has the conversation been through this transition that you've had with some of these players?
First of all, they're excited about Coach Taggart. Mr. Wilcox, the AD's done a phenomenal job of putting a real, true team together that has the heart for these kids and the heart for Florida State University. And these kids are excited. I mean, it's like the expectation. They know it's coming, and it's a new day here.
Now, we're reporting that you're in early discussions about the possibility to come back and join Willie Taggart's staff. What can you comment on that?
You never know. I've been known to make big plays with these colors on. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, you certainly did make a ton of big plays. I'm sure you've been asked this throughout the years. What's your best memory in a Florida State uniform?
Just my teammates, man. That freshman class I came in with, and Odell was my roommate. Odell Higgins was my roommate. And some of these guys that we share so much. Nothing that transpired on the field, but really off the field in Burt Reynolds Hall and those dorm rooms and the unity that we shared.
Now, we got a chance to talk to Coach Higgins yesterday, and he talked about getting back to Florida State football. You're one of the guys that helped set what Florida State football is. What does that mean to you?
Just the work ethic, the knowledge of the game, and then you have fun. Some kind of way they got it mixed up. They try to have fun, and they don't understand the work ethic and the knowledge of the game. We got to get back to the basics.
Absolutely. It looks like you guys just recovered a fumble, so you may be good luck for this Florida State team.
I don't believe in luck, but I believe in hard work. And Coach Taggart is awesome. I'm there behind them 100% of the way, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, Deion, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
God bless you. Hey, Brett, you owe me, man.
Well, you're not kidding about a substantial wager from those two cats. The fumble was forced by Stanford Samuels III, only a freshman, and recovered by A.J. Westbrook, two Floridians, one from the south, one from Central East in Daytona Beach, coming up for this play.
Watch how aggressive he is in his tackling. And the one thing you want to do, when I teach tackling, I teach you want to gather your feet, you want to close down that separation, and then you want to strike. And he did it perfectly well. The young man coming up, making a big hit, and a very important takeaway for the Seminoles.
High formation. Don't think we'll see many of those with Willie Taggart around next season. Cam Akers will run it for, oh my! He snuck out of there. I was looking at the officials starting to mark him down at the 22, but Akers squirted away for 4 more to get to the 18. That's a gain of nearly 8.
Yeah, and we got a chance to, when we talked to Jacquez yesterday about Cam Akers, he said this young man came in and was relying a lot on his talent when he originally arrived on campus. But since that time, he's running with more purpose. He's more forceful. And he's a kid that, despite having juke moves, can run you over when he needs to, and he just showed you there.
But Blackman got hit right around the head. He's going to have to take off. And Blackman showing some great running ability, having to ad-lib there before Booth brings him down. Short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 2 coming up, and now we have a USM player shaking up. That's Xavier Thigpen, their tall redshirt senior, second team All-Conference USA defensive end. And he's getting up to his knees. That's a good sign, and up fairly quickly. While we have a moment, let's check in with Chris Cotter in studio for the first time today. Chris.
Hello, Dave. Mercedes-Benz halftime report coming your way in just a little bit. Gene Chizik and Greg McElroy will join me. We'll preview the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium coming up. Also, Foster Farms with Khalil Tate and Nick Saban in Alabama arrive in New Orleans. All that coming up. Mercedes-Benz halftime. We'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, I think they could turn out the lights in New Orleans. Alabama fans would find their way around there in the dark. They know that territory very, very well.
Indeed.
We're going to have a timeout called here by the Golden Eagles. That's their second they've used in the half, leaving them with 1.
Their second. It will run
clock at
30
2:07, and we're looking at 3rd down and 2. So a critical play here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Florida State has had great success on offense. So I asked you at the top of the show, Ahmad, about the focus of Florida State. What do you think of it now as we approach halftime?
Well, they seem locked in, and right now they are suffocating the Golden Eagles.
Well, tonight after the Texas Bowl on ESPN, you are not going to want to miss SportsCenter for an exclusive conversation with a man we just heard about, Nick Saban. Now look at how Kevin Durant has taken another leap forward for the Warriors and why Villanova has the ranking but not the respect. if you watch the play, you'd respect him. That's all I got to say about that. All that and more on SportsCenter with Nicole Briscoe and Neil Everett, 12:30 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Yeah, Villanova, they're good. There's your headline right there.
All you need to say to that.
Well, I'll be curious to see that later and see how they're not getting respect, because they ought to be. I think they're just jealous that Jay Wright and you apparently dress at the same tailor. That's all. They're jealous. 3rd and 2. Oh, boy. Patrick is the tailback here. Play action fake to him. He stays in the block and does a nice job. There's the throw to tight end Izzo, and he'll get the first down at the 10-yard line. And Patrick just adding to that NFL resume, that time as a blocker.
Yeah. And that's what you want to do. Show teams that you can pass protect, keeping your quarterback clean in the pocket. And Blackman has one of those elongated throwing motions. You saw it there. You'd like to see him hasten that up at times to be able to get the ball out in the flat and make those short throws, but a good connection there to his tight end Izzo.
They bring in the fullback, Neighbors, number 32. He'll swing out of the backfield and throw to the end zone. Caught, touchdown. 23 straight red zone scores for the Noles, and Tate with the grab.
A complete mismatch in the red zone. If you are going to go man-to-man with Tate at 6'5", 225 pounds, that time there he wasn't even covered, but when you do, it's not a good matchup for the defense because of his size, his leaping ability, and his ability to also attack the football in the air and haul in those catches. Another big red zone play from Tate.
Well, that is 2 touchdowns for Tate. 3 touchdown passes by Blackman. And PATs have been unintentionally exciting today, but that one was drilled down the gut by Aguayo. So Florida State is on an offensive roll right now. And if you wondered if they were going to take this game seriously, the answer is clearly yes.
That was just an outstanding route. Beats him inside, catches the defensive back on his heels, and Blackman putting the ball on the money, looked at him the entire time. No surprise that he went to Tate in the red zone.
Well, the other thing is, although Blackman once or twice has been chased from the pocket, he has had time. You see Tate's numbers so far. We have 1:33 to go in this half. So Southern Mississippi now forced to deal from the bottom of the deck here. They are struggling to move the football with some consistency, as they're running into the kind of speed that Florida State brings. Isaiah Jones now joins Edo Smith at the goal line or thereabouts for the kickoff. Blackman, by the way, has already tied his career high for most touchdown passes in the game. He tossed 3 against Delaware State in a blowout win for Florida State. This will be Jones, and he'll take a knee. And we have an FSU player shaken up and limping off the field under his own power and can't quite get there. And it was right when the whistle blew. He made a contact with 2. That's Emmett Rice, who is shaken up. He had a huge collision with 2 Southern Mississippi players, and you could tell right away that something wasn't right. Out of Miami Gardens, that's actually where the University of Miami plays their home games, at Hard Rock Stadium. Went to Norland High. It's a great school down there in South Florida. So here's this big collision. And you see he ends up taking out 2, and that was... And it looks like possibly he collided, that it was knee on knee there, and that's, that's full speed contact. So hopefully Emmett will be able to return to this game. That turf always feels a little colder when you're hurt.
Oh, it does.
And he needs a little bit of help from his mates to get off and the field, and that's can't put any weight on that just yet. So a quandary for Quadre, Griggs, and the USM offense. They only have one timeout, 93 seconds left in the half. A little pitch to Adams. Adams trying to get to the corner, but running wide against these guys is tricky. Jacob Pugh, who scored a touchdown against the Gators in Gainesville earlier this year on a fumble return for a touchdown.
Yeah, outstanding team speed for the Seminoles, and Southern Miss has to get going after their first drive. 63 total yards and a touchdown, despite penalties for the Seminoles giving up that drive. Last 4 possessions, 50 yards, 3 punts, 1 fumble.
They go to the ground again, and Burns will make the stop. Gain a couple there. It'll be 3rd down. I thought there might be Florida State trying to get greedy here and use some timeouts and try to get the ball back. They have elected not to do that.
Now, if Willie was on the sideline, I'm pretty sure you'd get a timeout, especially with that quick strike offense and their ability to take shots downfield.
Well, they may get the ball back with just a few seconds remaining. Let's see what happens on this 3rd down play. Griggs throws underneath the coverage, and a nice cutback there by Jalen Adams to get the 1st down. A freshman from Adamsville, Alabama, that temporarily stops the clock with 25 seconds to go. And USM now playing quickly. Go to Ito Smith. Boy, I love his patience, Ahmad.
Yeah.
Love his patience. And we're going to get a timeout used here, and the last one for the Golden Eagles. So if you're just sitting down,
their last timeout.
Let's take you through what we've had already so far in this Walk-Ons Independence Bowl. And believe it or not, we're going to show you a roughing the punter penalty because it kept the drive alive. And that led to this touchdown by Quadre Griggs. The redshirt junior wins the foot race to the corner, but Ahmad, after that, it's been all Florida State.
Yeah, Blackman got going, and right now he is ripping this Golden Eagles defense apart. 10 of 16, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's put the ball in safe locations. He's also utilized his feet today, rushing for 27 yards. And it's been the difference. He has been the difference with this offense, scoring on consecutive drives and now leading convincingly over Southern Miss.
And by the way, remember we showed you at the beginning, Florida State had not won a game this season when the opponent scored first. They are in a position to break that. They're 0-5 when the other team scores first. Griggs flushed, in big trouble, and he'll just throw it away. He was outside the box, and he got it past the line of scrimmage, and he was being chased by Jacob Pugh, the senior from Dade City.
Across the line of scrimmage, and there was a receiver in the area.
10 seconds remaining, and 3rd down and 5.
Yeah, after my quarterback just took a shot there, I'd be perfectly content with handing it off to our ultimate playmaker, Ito Smith, for a run here to pad his stats. And if you're this Southern Miss offense, they've got to come up with some answers in the locker room at halftime, or this game could get out of hand.
Well, the quarterback may take another shot. Pass is tipped. That'll stop the clock. 5 seconds remaining. Brian Burns again. He is a great athlete. He was a good high school basketball player at American Heritage in Plantation, Florida, where Tavares McFadden also went there. Did not play basketball. Tavares, I believe, ran track there. So it's now 4th down and 5, and no sign of the punting unit.
Florida State in prevent defense, meaning defensive backs all the way back to the goal line.
They're at the Shreveport Municipal Auditorium, I think, where Elvis left the building. Going to pitch it off to Smith. This is going to fatten his stats. And Smith is going to play this right to the last echo of the whistle. Great effort there, but he'll be short. And now a flag. The referee threw a flag. There's another flag that came in after that. We have had unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in this game already. So while some of the Seminoles are heading to the dressing room where it's a little bit warmer, let's see what our officiating crew has cooked up here on this final play of the half, or is it? There are 1, 2, 3, 4 markers on the field. and the teams are heading to the dressing rooms, leads us to believe we might have offsetting penalties. So, did we get another flag? We did. Another flag was thrown. Somebody said something there. Greg Sujak, the referee. And now you can see Jay Hobson calling back his guys.
Absolutely.
After the play, the half is now over. Any fouls will be enforced on the second half kickoff. We have a dead ball. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 78 on the offense. That's his first. Dead ball. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 16 on the defense. That's his first. Those yardage penalties cancel. That's the end of the half.
All right, there you have it. So Devin Ferrier and Jacob Pugh each have now a black mark in the book. The next unsportsmanlike conduct will get them ejected. You can see Ferrier pretty late with that. So Florida State, when they're ahead at halftime, 6 out of 7. Southern Miss batting .500 with our score 23-6 Florida State. Let's send you to the studio where Chris Cotter, Greg McElroy, and Gene Chiswick are standing by. Gentlemen, it is all yours.
Thank you, Dave. Mercedes-Benz halftime report. Gene Chiswick, Greg McElroy here in studio with me. Hey, I'd be upset.
Bowl Mania.
And welcome back to the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, part of Capital One Bowl Mania. Now, after a bit of a slow start, Florida State took control of the first half and leads Southern Mississippi 23-6. Along with Roddy Jones, we'll be hearing from him in just a moment. We've got Ahmad Brooks here. I'm Dave Lamont. We thank you for joining us. And Ahmad, we talked at the very top of the show. What about the focus for the Seminoles? And it looked a little shaky early, but what do you think now?
Well, they've got the motivation, and they proved that. It was a rough start. They came out having some early jitters, penalties, but this team has certainly buttoned that up. I thought the performance from James Blackman, the young quarterback, really started to find his groove, and this defensive line for Florida State has taken over the ball game.
We'll hear from Roddy in a moment. He's had a chance to chat with the coaching staffs. And Florida State will get the football to start this second half with that 23-6 lead. We showed you that they are 6-1 when hitting the dressing room at the half with a lead. There were people wondered how their defense would play without Derwin James, Matthew Thomas, Josh Sweat, all of whom stepped away from the bowl to focus on NFL prep. James very, very highly regarded. But the defense has been solid. Got Amir Rasul and Keith Gavin awaiting a kick. And it's going to be out of bounds. And this will be Florida State taking the football at the 35-yard line.
Free kick out of bounds. The ball will be placed at the 35-yard line.
Now let's check in with Roddy.
Yeah, Dave, I had a chance to catch up with Southern Miss head coach Jay Hobson just after halftime, and he said that his message to his team was there's a lot more football left to play. He said little mistakes on each side have caused this deficit, and against a team like Florida State, you just can't make those mistakes. He said coming out and getting a stop early will be the most important, and then converting on third downs. That's the biggest thing that he's looking for his team in the second half.
All right, Roddy, thank you. I formation will open things up for FSU with Blackman under center. Top of the I will be Jacquez Patrick, and he'll get it. Going behind his fullback neighbors, and Patrick will fight to the 40-yard line for 5. Second down and 5 coming up.
Patrick on the carry, gain of 5.
And so it's interesting because we had Willie Taggart in here, Ahmad, earlier, and we know this offense is not going to be like that. You had an I formation. It's almost like Odell Hagens and his staff are going, here, take a good long last look at this before the Taggart era begins.
You're 100% right.
Play action fake. Plenty of time now. Blackman on the run. Hits Patrick, who is open underneath. And Patrick, again, showing how hard it is for one person to bring him down. Gets to midfield for a gain of 10.
That was an excellent decision from the young quarterback, Blackman. He was looking for Keith Gavin over the top on a post route. but came back to his check down after maneuvering very well in the pocket. And those are the decisions that if he wants to win this job next year, he's going to have to play that well. We know that he's probably a better runner than Francois, but it'll be his passing ability that I think will give him the edge if he's going to win the job.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that, too. We'll pick up a short gain there. Francois, very widely admired by his teammates. And
yes.
One thing I gathered from talking to people who watched Florida State and Francois in 2016 when he had 25 total touchdowns. And the injury to your number one guy, to your quarterback, the most important position, was certainly devastating. And it put Blackman, a true freshman, in an awkward spot. He looks pretty smooth today. And this battle is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it depends on how much Willie wants his quarterback to run, to be frank with you. And Francois is one of the toughest kids I've ever seen play the quarterback position.
That'll be about 2 yards short of the first down. DJ Matthews with his first catch of the day.
And you guys were talking about that quarterback situation that Florida State's going to have. It's a great situation to be in. And I think the thought is that DeAndre Francois will have a leg up because of his age, but James Blackman at this point has as much starting experience as DeAndre Francois does. So it'll be really interesting. And I think, Ahmad, you made a great point about that last play where he climbs the pocket, checks down to his running back. That's the maturity that James Blackman has shown over the course of the season. And that's the reason why Alec Eberle said that this guy came in with all kinds of swag. It's just a maturity thing, and he's done that over the course of this year.
It's 3rd and 4. They marked him out of bounds at the 44. And there you see Izzo right to the sticks. And that will move the chains. First down, Seminoles.
What I really like, Roddy, is his patience. I mean, that time there, he was looking for his tight end. He let the play develop and threw it into a tight passing window. It's rare. And I'm glad you brought up a point, which is a fantastic point, about him having as much experience now as Francois. This year is going to strengthen this offense. It's been a downturn, obviously, throwing a freshman out there, but they will see major benefits come off of that next season.
This will be Akers. Look at him bounce this outside in one beautiful motion, where he is finally cut down at the 23-yard line. And he has just set the freshman rushing yards record held by Dalvin Cook, which was 1,008, and Akers needed 79. He now has 1,019.
Productive, you know, and just the time that you think this kid is an outside runner, he'll pop one up the middle with that same type of wiggle. He got a good block on the outside edge, but that quickness and that burst and acceleration make him extremely difficult to tackle.
Blackman, incomplete. He gunned that one for Keith Gavin right around the goal line. It'll be incomplete. 2nd down and 10 coming up. And again, Akers, 15 receptions, so they used him out of the backfield. And so now Akers has moved past Dalvin Cook. You had to go all the way back. What Dalvin Cook had to do was he broke a record that was at that time 23 years old.
And Akers now has to avoid that sophomore slump. You know, for guys that play and have early success like Cam Akers, it's easy to sit back and think you've arrived. But if this young man keeps working with the same work ethic and discipline he has, his future is very bright.
Make that 33 years old. That's so long ago. That time, however, the Golden Eagle defense was more than worthy as Curtis Michael, second-team All-Conference USA, a senior from Bassfield, Mississippi, in there on the stop. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Ahmad, you made a great point about Cam Akers and that sophomore slump. We saw it with Dalvin Cook when in his first year he split carries, and then in his second year he became the bell cow, and he was able to respond in a big way. Florida State's going to hope that Cam Akers does the same thing, depending on whether or not Jacquez Patrick decides to come back for his senior season or go to the NFL.
4 out of 6 third downs for the Seminoles. Blackman has the time. The pocket formed, and Ahmad, was the pass late or the cut late?
It looked like Gavin was a little sloppy coming out of his break there. And that was a comeback route, a deeper developing route, great protection from the Seminoles offensive line. And I thought the timing was good from Blackman. He got it out a little earlier, but it just appeared as though Keith Gavin couldn't gather his feet and come out clean of his break to make that catch.
So Ricky Aguayo will come on. Jarrett Jackson to hold. This would be 39 yards. And the breeze that we had earlier, right now, those little orange flags in the goalposts are pretty quiet. High snap. very well handled by the holder Jackson, and Aguayo is true. So Florida State building on their lead at 26-6. We'll see what Southern Mississippi can do when they get the football for the first time in this quarter. Seminoles pick up a field goal on their opening drive of the third quarter to expand their lead to the highest it's been so far today, 26-6, and the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl on a chilly day in Shreveport. All part of Capital One Bowl Mania and the beginning of a triple header on ESPN today. We head into New York after this for Iowa-Boston College.
How about Boston College and the turnaround in the latter part of the season?
Well, that was remarkable.
Indeed.
Steve Adazio can't get enough credit for that one. And one of the teams they took down during their run was this Florida State team. What might have been the low point of the season for the Seminoles. They were utterly blown out on a Friday night in Boston.
Agreed. And for a program like Boston College, when you take out a team like Florida State, it really does give you the confidence needed to feel like you can play with anybody in the country.
Jones and Smith back deep. Coming up, this will be Ito Smith. And this time he cannot make a miss. Great coverage by the Seminoles defensively. Rasul in there with the stop. So Florida State, the last 5 seasons, they have seen incredible highs. I mean, they had Jameis Winston win a Heisman Trophy in 2013 and a national championship, their first since 1999. Then they get to the playoff semifinals, but lost to Marcus Mariota in Oregon. Then they did all right, but they couldn't beat Clemson. Not many did in that stretch. And of course, this season, 6-6, and a new head coach in Willie Taggart replacing the new coach at Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher.
And I think both Florida State and Fisher needed a change, and you know, you hope it works out for Willie Taggart, and especially with the fertile recruiting base that he has, to be able to bring in some talent to operate that offense that he has.
So here is Griggs, and his pass is batted down to the line of scrimmage and nearly intercepted. I think that was DeMarcus Christmas collapsing the pocket there, number 90, who got a hand on that pass. It'll be second down and 10.
Yeah, and you know, it was shocking even as a college football fan when you saw the news come through that Jimbo was going to A&M.
Well, there are some people that will tell you that that wasn't a big surprise. As soon as Jimbo started to complain about things up there, that it started to frost a few people and rub them the wrong way, whether that was his subconscious way of starting to grease the skids for his exit, or whether he just was upset about something and only he knows.
And I think part of it, though, was the graphic we just saw, the amount of success that he's had at Florida State. But as we know, and myself having played at the University of Texas, the more success you have, typically now you've created expectations that are extremely difficult for you to meet. You know, Mac Brown, one of our colleagues, knows it best. He came in, it was a struggling Texas program, you build it back, and now those wins that you have, fans are expecting 10 wins a year, no matter your talent, no matter the downturn of the program. And so I was shocked for that reason, that Jimbo has had major success, one of the top coaches in the country. He was a great get, I think, for Texas A&M for sure. And I know there were some people that were displeased about how the exit went down here at Florida State.
Oh, you could say that again, yeah.
Absolutely. And most importantly, these student athletes having to endure another coach coming in and getting used to Willie Taggart.
Griggs, that's a tough throw into coverage, and it is incomplete. The coverage that time by number 14, Kyle Myers, who had a critical breakup earlier, trying to get it to Isaiah Jones. You know, the one player, guys, that has been taken out of the game plan, Corey Robertson, the fine receiver for the Golden Eagles, number 18, is just 2 catches for 15 yards. That's it.
Well, they play aggressive man-to-man coverage here. And so Levante Taylor, who I believe is a young, bright star from Virginia Beach, Virginia. In addition to that, McFadden, who wasn't supposed to play, according to various reports, both of those guys were doing a nice job of getting his pads and making it difficult for him to get off the line of scrimmage.
Everett into punt. Oh, they'll throw a fake, and and this is going to work. This is going to be a first down and a whole lot more for Southern Mississippi. They needed a spark, and they throw it to Alan Fales Jr., who is a linebacker, and it's a trick that succeeds.
What a gutsy call.
And a nice pass by Everett.
From Jay Hobson. You know, this is not the area where you expect a fake, for sure. Normally in between both 20s, but it sets up perfectly. Executed to perfection. And now the Golden Eagles offense back out on the field, and that could be the momentum they need to get things going after being stagnant and held to few yards since their opening drive where they were able to punch one in for a score.
Ito Smith, T-Rod Daniels in the backfield for Griggs. His throw, and McFadden almost picked it. They went to Robertson, and maybe part of the problem is that McFadden has just become Robertson's not BFF today.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of jaw-jacking going on from McFadden. He plays the position with the right demeanor, and he's still developing in his skill set. I think at times when you watch him on film as an NFL prospect, his aggression can get him into trouble, but it's also his strength. And so he's still battling on when to be aware and when to have aggression at the line of scrimmage, but a fine play from number 4.
Delay, no chance. Absolutely no chance. Derek Noddy, a big senior from Virginia Beach, 6'1", all of 310, stuffing that.
I love these kids. I love them. Yeah, I mean, and talking to the staff here at Florida State, he's a player that plays the zero technique right over the center, but he's ideal for a 3 technique or a shade at the next level. Very stout run stopper, built low to the ground, great center of gravity, and he's playing in his last game as a Florida State Seminole.
He'll be missed. A leader, but in a quiet way. Now Griggs in some trouble here, stumbled a bit, goes back and just missed the receiver who would have had a first down. Robertson had that pass connected. He was right at the first down marker at the 45-yard line. So I don't know if they have another fake plan here for Zach Everett. But you know, it's funny. That 25-yard gain is the longest pass play Southern Miss has had today.
Well, that explains why you've only got 6 points for sure, and you've got to give credit to Florida State's defense. After that first drive and some costly penalties on special teams, they've come back out, and they have played like their hair is on fire.
And a timeout called here by Florida State, and there's also a penalty marker now, but I believe
Florida State, they're first.
So we'll be picking up that flag. It
It'll
looks like
also be a
Florida State
30-second
meeting
timeout.
that by getting the timeout called. They have 2 left for the rest of this game. Saturday on ESPN, Bowl Mania is going to continue with a couple of more games at 4 Eastern. It's the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl as number 11 Washington takes on Saquon Barkley and number 9 Penn State. Then at 8, number 6 Wisconsin battles number 10 Miami in the Capital One Orange Bowl. And the Canes are playing at their home stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. So we'll see if that's going to be any kind of advantage for the U or not. Both games are available on the ESPN app. And Saquon Barkley didn't get the Heisman as many thought he would this year. But Mel Kiper's still a big fan.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are as well. If you look at what the impact that some of these running backs have had going in the NFL, when you look at Christian McCaffrey in Carolina, Leonard Fournette in Jacksonville, how can you not, if you're a team in the top 5, think about taking Saquon Barkley?
And he will be playing in that bowl game, unlike the 2 names that Roddy just mentioned who skipped bowl games.
Dave, don't get me started.
I guess we'll be talking about this when we come back.
Independence Bowl, brought to you by Walk-On's Bistro and Bar. It's like game day with a taste of Louisiana. Overton's, America's marine and water sports superstore. And those that live like a pro, GMC.
And players from both the schools celebrated part of their Christmas by sharing a meal together with the men and women at nearby Barksdale Air Force Base. I'm sure a little caroling going on, looks like there. Right now, though, the party is if you're wearing garnet and gold. 8:05 to go in this third quarter. The Seminoles with the football again. Jaquez Patrick at the tailback. And the discussion we're about to start here, it revolves around players who have decided, and this is a very recent trend, to sit out bowl games in order to protect their NFL status to avoid injury. We're going to go Patrick here, and he's going to get double teamed for a 1-yard pickup. So, Ahmad, I'll start with you. We saw Christian McCaffrey skip the Sun Bowl last year, top 10 pick, by the way. Leonard Fournette, top 4 pick. They both set out their bowl games. We're not going to see Derwin James today for Florida State. He is a almost guaranteed first-round pick. He's concerned about that, along with some other players, by the way, who are skipping it. So what do you think of this new trend?
Well, let me preface it by saying if you're a top 10 pick, I understand the potential of maybe you trying to preserve your body.
That's a great catch coming back to the football there by DJ Matthews, and a first down at the 41-yard line.
And to avoid the risk of injury. However, now, with guys that aren't top 10 picks, I really have an axe to grind with them. Partly because the bowl game is all about coming out here, having a good time, wrapping up the season with your mates. The memories that are created at bowl games, and I played in all 4 of them, are some of the best moments of my life. That being said, I also think you can improve your draft status by playing. And I really have an issue with this. And so James, I can understand, as James Blackman finds his tight end Izzo for another first down. I love the fact that this is possible now, but what I hate the most is that you also lose sight on the game in terms of NFL scouts. If your big players are not here, trust me, there were some guys in NFL scouts that did not come today because James wasn't playing. Just keep that in mind when you're one of those guys that has an opportunity, could step away from a ball game, because that's something more than anything that I really have a hard time understanding, especially considering the rookie salary cap now that has drastically limited the amount of salaries and money these kids can make in their first year as rookies.
This is DJ Matthews as Blackman, who took a real shot on the previous play, able to get off the completion for 7. Now, Derwin James has got a teammate, Josh Sweat, a junior defensive end who's not playing today. But there are others, a couple from Texas. Royce Freeman at Oregon, a senior running back, has decided to skip his bowl game.
And Dave and Ahmad, you know, I kind of fall on the opposite side of this issue as Ahmad. You know, I look at what these guys can potentially make at the next level, and even though there is a rookie wage scale now that limits compared to what it was back in the day when you were playing, Ahmad, when you were coming out of Texas, it's still millions of dollars, which is more money than most of us will make in our entire lives. We're talking about the amount of money that can create generational wealth for these guys. So if you have 60 minutes from the end of your season until making those millions of dollars, I can't be mad at you whatsoever for protecting your body and protecting, honestly, the investment that you've made in your football career. So, you know, I certainly don't like it if it happens on a large scale and you see guys lower down start to do it. But for those guys, first, second-round picks, hey, man, go get your money. We expect everybody to treat this like a business except for the athletes, so I support them in their decision.
And the other thing you don't ever see is you don't see the guys in the playoff games doing it.
Yeah,
of
course
you see guys in the bowl games that are not in that playoff echelon. And, again, it's not a majority of these draft-eligible players are the good ones. It's just a handful, but it might turn into a trickle-down.
And speaking of trickle-down, so if you're worried about an injury, do you not drive a car? So the point is it's football. Are you kidding me right now?
This is Gabe Neighbors, the fullback, and he'll lose some yardage on that first and goal situation. Now it's going to be second and goal back at the 10-yard line.
And you know, I think that the interesting thing about this whole trend is that it was started, quote unquote, by 2 guys, Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette, who had legitimate injury concerns last year going into the bowl game. And both these guys were banged up throughout the year. Both of them had the support of their coaches to sit out in order to get healthy for the combine and for the tests that they had to do. So I think people kind of forget about the fact that Fournette and McCaffrey both had injury issues last season.
Last thing I'll mention about it, I also wonder the effect it has on your teammates, the ones who aren't going to be playing on Sundays, the guys who are still going through the extra practices and playing for the game. And that'll be down inside the 5 on the carry there by Jacquez Patrick, who certainly is a mystery as to what his future is going to be. So that's the other thing I wonder. I mean, if you're a backup guard, are you going to be resentful? Are you going to, that I just wonder about that effect and how it might affect your team. Certainly not affecting Florida State today.
Ahmad, you played with more first-round picks than I did, but I played with a couple, and if they decided to skip the bowl game and go play, I think I would have understood because, again, they're steps away from millions.
They've got some bulk in the backfield now. And Patrick so hard to bring down, and they can't do it until he gets in the end zone. They added Frederick Jones from the defense, number 55, to lead the parade of blockers. Patrick's so tough, and Florida State has blown this game open.
Well, here's a guy today that battled through some injuries this year. He came out and we asked him, we said, why did you play today? He said, you know what, man, I just love playing ball. I am not going to miss an opportunity to play one more time with my guys and to be out and to be able to send this team out the right way. I admire that type of courage and confidence in your ability to keep yourself from getting injured, but also the effort that comes along because he is an NFL prospect as well.
Oh, and that size. Oh, man, absolutely.
Beast.
Jacquez Patrick, you might see him on Sundays sooner rather than later. Only he knows the answer to that. Welcome back to the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, part of Capital One Bowl Mania. We are in Shreveport, and inside that tent is James Blackman, the FSU quarterback. And here's what happened. He gets double teamed here. And you notice that left knee braced up already. And that may be what's being looked at in there now. Roddy Jones is in the neighborhood keeping an eye on things for us. 33 unanswered points for the Seminoles. A couple of yards deep, Mrs. Smith. 25-yard line is where he will be brought down. Seminoles have played very well on kick coverage. Be sure to see Star Wars: The Last Jedi, now playing in theaters and IMAX everywhere. And that's kind of what Jacquez Patrick and Cam Akers have looked like rolling through defenses today.
No doubt.
You just saw there. Southern Miss has got to find their offense and find it very, very quickly. There is Jacquez.
I know people in the ACC are hoping that this young man decides to take his talents to the NFL, but for those Seminoles fans out there, they'd love to see him and Akers at it one more year together.
So on the ground, it's Smith trying to bounce off tacklers, and is he ever? What a great run this is by Smith down the sideline and right around midfield. He has run out of bounds. That'll be a 24-yard gain and a tremendous run by Edo Smith.
Yeah, this guy's patience, as you alluded to earlier, Dave. Watch him. He's as patient as a parent dealing with a toddler. He just takes his time. He lets the play develop, his blocking in front of him develop. And Edo doing a fine job of getting to the outside edge and showing his acceleration and burst.
Catch made there by Staggers. He is brought down immediately for 1 yard. 2nd down and 9. Edo Smith, 2,300-yard games in his career. He's got 82 so far. And again, that is not the name on his birth certificate. He's known as Romarius, but someone in the family, a relative, thought he looked like the famed judge from the O.J. Simpson trial, Lance Edo, so that's how he became Edo.
Amazing how things stick.
I mean, he was born in 1995. And he's, by the way, completely okay with it. That'll be a gain down to the 43 on the run there by Griggs, a redshirt junior from Greenwood, Mississippi. So it sets up 3rd down and 3. And Smith, a senior from Mobile, first team All-Conference USA, owns a ton of records at Southern Mississippi. And in his career, those 2,300-yard career games ties him for 3rd place, active with Nick Chubb. That's how good Edo Smith has been. He really hangs with some prestigious football players in his career. He'll get the direct snap. Now they'll run a trick play. The throw back to the quarterback, Griggs. The throw came from Staggers, and Griggs was wide open on the near sideline. So the 2nd time we've seen Southern Miss succeed with a trick play.
Yeah, he tried to dupe, Griggs did, the defense by coming out, pretending as though he was checking the play off, and it was just a direct snap to Edo Smith, who came around, pitched it to the wide receiver. Well-designed play, executed the way you draw that thing up, and a big gain for the Golden Eagles.
Well, $1.20 remaining in this 3rd quarter. Now back to Smith, again playing off of the block, and it's a good one too. Smith will get inside the 15 with another fine move. He was following Jerry Harris, and that seems like a pretty smart idea, and that's going to be another first down for USM.
Yeah, that play is really working for them right now. They're bringing an offensive lineman pulling from the backside, and he's just hiding in behind them and finding space and taking off at the right time to gain positive yardage.
He is listed at 5'9", 193. Ahmad, is that going to be any kind of drawback for the pros?
Not when you're running like that.
One-on-one, breaking into the end zone, past McFadden for the touchdown. And Robertson gets away to make the grab for 6. So Corey Robertson and Tavares McFadden have had their own game going on, and Robertson gets the best of him this time as the swinging gate is set up by Southern Miss. Florida State covering it. And now they close the gate. Parker Schoenfield is out. He missed a PAT earlier today. Very surprising. He's an excellent kicker. Then he blasts that one straight and true. The 33-point run broken by that touchdown.
Yeah, McFadden here, it appeared as though he was anticipating a back shoulder fade here. You watch him in the ISO, and he's going to turn over his left shoulder rather than turning over his right shoulder and pinning the wide receiver to the boundary. That told me he was anticipating an underneath throw, because you're taught if it's underneath, you turn in that way with your body into the wide receiver. It's a deep throw. You want to roll that head and do what's called a speed turn. He wasn't able to do that there. It was a good pass and thrown in a safe location, but McFadden there not at his best, and Corey Robertson makes him pay for his first touchdown of the ballgame.
And you're talking about one of the most improved players in the entire country, Corey Robertson. He had a good 2016. He has had a stellar 2017. And I wouldn't rule out an onside kick here. Southern Mississippi has shown the courage to try a trick play in there, a fake punt deep in their own territory. So I wouldn't be at all shocked here if Bourgeois tries something short. And there it is. And it's caught by Florida State. There's a flag down. Might be an offside here. It was caught by Carlos Becker III. And for half a blink, I thought he might take it all the way.
Dave, are you listening in on Southern Miss headset or what, man? I kind of thought it was an asinine call, and they went for it.
Well,
boy.
A lot of people have said that before.
Offside. Number 3 on the kicking team. The 5-yard penalty will be assessed from the end of the run. 1st and 10.
And they're usually right.
I don't really like the timing of this, especially since your offense is finally scoring. But I also understand, too, that this offense has struggled getting going. And you see it here, clearly offsides, and that's unfortunate. However, for Florida State, now you've got a short field. You would imagine at this point in the ball game, Florida State will continue to hand it off to their running backs. Cam Akers, 11 carries, 88 yards, averaging over 8 right at 8 yards a pop. Jaquez Patrick, 14 carries, 57 yards, averaging over 4 with a touchdown. And they have been your workhorses today. I think you go back to them and perhaps surprise them by getting Blackman involved in the running game as well.
Well, the visit to the medical tent was a productive one for Blackman. He fires the pass, and Izzo with another grab. He takes some shots, but he continues to keep getting up. That's a gain of 6 to the 24-yard line.
Yeah, Dave, you mentioned that trip to the medical tent for James Blackman. No other quarterback even warmed up. I think he told those guys before he went in there that he was coming back out. There was no concern on this Florida State sideline at all about him returning to this game.
Yeah, that is 6 targets and 6 catches for Izzo for 59 yards. Down to 7 seconds. Will they snap it? Yeah, we'll have one more play in the quarter. The handoff to Akers. He'll bounce it outside. They were waiting for him, but he is very, very close and think he has the first down at the 20-yard line before the collision with Moore drove him out of bounds. 3 quarters down in the books. Florida State undefeated in 6 games when leading or tied after the 3rd quarter. They're up by 20 here at the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl in Shreveport. Florida State in control of this moment here in Shreveport, 33-13. And the 2nd quarter was the big one so far, with the Seminoles putting up 16-0. And at one point had a 33-0 run. And they are perfect this 6-win season when taking the lead or being even after 3 quarters.
And what about the job of this Florida State staff that they've done?
Such
Despite
as
not
it
having the coaches they have. I think we counted up yesterday a total of 8 coaches, including graduate assistants as well as the head coach.
Yeah.
And they're doing a fine job today of game planning.
Blackman on the run, in a little bit of trouble. His legs will get him out of there, and he's trying to get out of bounds before he absorbs any more contact, and he did. Picked up 5 there. Yeah, you've got a few holdovers. You've got some who left, and then Willie Taggart bringing in Odell Higgins, bringing him back, which seems to me like an absolutely brilliant move and an easy decision to make. And then we'll see what Willie Taggart is in. As he told us in the interview in the 2nd quarter, he's not in a huge hurry, and his phone is ringing off the hook.
I bet.
Little stretch play action here, and good job by the Golden Eagles defense to cut that down after about a half of a yard pickup.
Ahmad, you talked about the job that this Florida State coaching staff has done game planning, but from a motivation standpoint, I mean, I played in a bowl game where I was redshirt, and I was a part of a Georgia Tech team where Chan Gailey got fired after the last game of the year. Paul Johnson had been named head coach. John Tenuta was our interim coach, and I'm going to be honest, motivation was an issue for that team. This Florida State team has absolutely responded to everything that Odell Higgins has thrown out there, and motivation has not been an issue here today.
Well, I announced that game, and yes, and you played Fresno State too, which didn't help. To the end zone, catch made, touchdown! Auden Tate's 3rd touchdown of the day. That is a season high for James Blackman with 4 touchdown passes. And that is also an Independence Bowl record.
Wow. And he's going to the largest wide receiver on either roster. Auden Tate, 6'5", 225. Can't say enough about his leaping ability, his ability to tack the football. And that time there had several inches on the defensive back and made him pay with perfect timing on his jump. Great coordination along the sideline.
Oh, and snap did not go well at all. There's marker down, however.
Yeah, and Tate, as a 5'8" former cornerback for the University of Texas, these are the types of players you struggle defending. You've got to have great timing, mental toughness. This time here, Auden Tate once again finding pay dirt on a beautiful grab for his 3rd of the day.
So back here at the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, what a day for Florida State, and Tate with 3 touchdown catches out of 5 receptions and 84 yards. And Blackman now with an Independence Bowl record, 4 touchdown passes, 18 of 26. Tate has tied an Independence Bowl record that was set by Jalen Samuels of North Carolina State in 2016.
During the interval after the score, number 22, Florida State has changed jerseys. He is now wearing number 85.
We had over 33,000 in attendance here today. This game really is a tradition in this city. They're very important to the folks of Shreveport.
I must say, the diet out here has been outstanding. It's been a while since I've been in the state of Louisiana, being a former New Orleans Saint, and the crawfish etouffee was amazing.
This is Isaiah Jones breaking a couple of tackles, and he gets outside the 30. They're going to say he was down at the 31-yard line. Yes. I will take any assignments in Louisiana, and I have
food alone.
By restaurants. Yes.
Yeah, no doubt.
In Baton Rouge, you go here. In New Orleans, you go here. And when you're watching television, you go to Bowl Mania. With 2 more games on ESPN at 5:15 Eastern, Iowa and Boston College at Yankee Stadium in the new era Pinstripe Bowl at 9 Eastern. I like this matchup. Texas and Missouri in the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl. You can watch them on the app, and you can watch A.J. Dillon on the app, the hottest running back in college football.
He has taken off, and yeah, you see it the last 6 regular season games. He's been the best in terms of yardage production and physical runner, but also has an ability with his force to pop you for the big one.
This is Robertson on a little look in there, and he'll pick up 8. He's starting to warm up a little bit with Quadre Griggs. Southern Miss in an interesting conference. This was the big story in Conference USA was Florida Atlantic with Lane Kiffin, who just got a 10-year deal, which very few people think he will stay for, but he's staying for a 2nd year, which some people didn't even think he would do that. And they ended up dominating the conference after a slow start to their season. So they're the standard bearer at the moment in Conference USA. Nothing there. It'll be 3rd down and a yard coming up.
I can't say enough about this Florida State front and what they've been able to do. And the key for me in this ball game was dominant run defense, and they've done that. They've given up 125 yards. However, they've stopped them in costly situations, and part of that has been the ability to build a wall there and to force these running backs to have to bounce things outside to pick up yardage.
3 out of 11 on 3rd downs today. Seminoles 37% on the season, and that's all they've allowed so far today. 24th in total defense, by the way. Mentioned that USM was 17th. They got to hurry and get the snap off here in 2, and they do. On the ground, no. 3 of 12. Jalen Wilkerson, number 30, busted that play up.
Once again, this defensive line, just individual efforts up front, winning their matchup. And that's what big-time college football is all about. And when you can rely on the guy next to you to win his matchup, those are the teams that make the greatest runs. And, you know, this is a Florida State team that could be a force to be reckoned with as the Golden Eagles try to go for it on 4th down here. With the right pieces coming back, this team could be back where we know them to be with a prominent record.
They'll option it. Absolutely not. This is going to be a significant loss. And Stanford Samuels III, just a freshman out of Pembroke Pines in western Broward County, diagnosed and destroyed the play.
Media timeout.
I can tell you one thing, he's not is scared. We've seen him make a few plays today. He is fearless on the edge. He comes up, he hits, he tackles. A complete defensive back prospect.
Independence Bowl, brought to you by Walk-On's Bistro and Bar. It's like game day with a taste of Louisiana. Louisiana seafood, know better, eat better. And Franklin American Mortgage, it all begins with home.
So the Seminoles in great position here as we take a look at the history of this game. Nick Saban, Mike Gundy, Mark Richt, Frank Beamer, all. And by the way, you need to have your workout on to lift that trophy. And if you stay after the game and join Roddy Jones and everybody else, it will be the Capital One post-game trophy ceremony immediately following the game. That will be on ESPN3, and our man Roddy will be your MC. J.J. Cosentino comes in to play quarterback for FSU. And they'll stretch to the right with Patrick again. And it takes about 7 in the black and yellow to bring him down. So Constantino out of Pennsylvania. 6'5", 247. And that announcement made to the crowd here gets a roar from the Seminole fans. So James Blackman will finish with an Independence Bowl record 4 touchdown passes as Cam Akers now is at the running back spot. He'll get it. Playing off the blocks, he disappears at the 30-yard line. So we'll take a look back here, Ahmad, at James Blackman's day. A freshman quarterback, a record setter for this FSU team.
Yeah, he started off a little nervous, and then he settled into his role, started finding his targets, dropping balls into tight coverage. And I thought what really got him started was his ability to extend plays and maneuver in the pocket. And Tate has been his favorite target today. James Blackman, I think, really took a step forward today in finishing the season strong and making a serious move to this being a quarterback competition next year. Young man finishing the year the way you'd like to see a guy that's played early finish off the season with a good performance.
Going to get a timeout here called by Florida State. That'll be number 2 for them, leaving 1 on the table with 9:55 remaining. Yeah, I think Blackman's performance, how he had to handle an immediate spotlight. I mean, your first college football action is against Alabama in the...
That's brutal.
You know, in the 100th game of the century you've had already in the century. But you know what I mean? A high level stage. And now with Francois, who's here, by the way, and he'll be healthy and ready to go, that battle will be one I think the entire college football nation will be watching.
And they, they have different skill sets, and I mean, I'm not sure if Willie has any plans on playing them both, but I could see 2 potential quarterbacks playing for this team next season, especially when you have the depth that they have now. 2 guys that are starters who have different skill sets, but also have proven that they can play big in big moments.
I think the model of a Willie Taggart quarterback was at South Florida, Quentin Flowers.
Absolutely.
Who played a great year for Charlie Strong in Charlie's first year in Tampa. That's the kind of guy that you're looking for. Now, maybe you won't get one quite that good, but that's the type you want.
What's Florida State? You should.
That's a good point. Cosentino got hit as he threw that. It'll be incomplete.
How about that for the backup quarterback? He comes in and on his first action throwing the football, he gets absolutely planted. And guys, we've mentioned it a couple times, but being down on the sideline, you can't mention enough. It is cold down here. So this young man came off the bench and welcome to the game, young man. As it looked like they're still on the field, maybe going for it on 4th down.
Yeah, it's probably an awkward punt. You're at the 30-yard line. Let's see if Cosentino can, what he's going to be able to do here. Looking to throw again. He will. Gets it. And that's going to be really close for Amir Rasul. Really close. The chain guys are waiting for the signal for a first down or not. Yep, they're moving the chains. Is that the right call? That is so close. I don't know how you would be able to overturn that if the booth did buzz down or if somebody challenges this.
Yeah, great point. Typically, when you rule a call that close, it's very hard to overturn. And great design on that play. They sent their 2 outside wide receivers on double slants and just slid the running back out into the flat, confused the defense, and forced defenders to have to fight through traffic to defend the running back.
Well, there is some arguing going on from the USM sideline, and finally the referee, Greg Sujak, came over.
Ruling on the field was that the runner made the line to gain. The previous play is under review.
And Greg Sujak, I think, was actually trying to put a little fire extinguisher on some of the mouths of the assistant coaches and finally talk over to the head manager, Jay Hobson. And Hobson voiced his complaint quickly, and then the referee now and the booth will take a look at it again. Upstairs, Steve Furjanik and Don Bondi are running the replay show. We'll take a look at it also. Again, is it strong enough evidence to overturn the call on the field of a first down? We have some other angles as well, which will help all of us with this decision. Scrimshire in pursuit. Well, as is so often the case, Ahmad, the guy who has the best look is the official who made the call. That doesn't always make him right either, but he had a very good look at where the football was and knew exactly what the first down marker was. Again, the ruling is first down.
And what makes this so difficult is that he's carrying it in his left hand. If he has that ball in his right hand, I don't even think we're discussing this here. He falls forward, and it appeared as though it'd be a first down. Now you're looking back at perhaps that left elbow, what comes down first. Difficult call to make as the official and the referee is ready to make the call.
After review, the ruling on the field stands that Florida State made a first down.
And in replay lingo, that means we couldn't find the evidence to overturn it.
Indeed.
I love the reaction of Jay Hobson, who looked at the official who broke the news to him, and he goes, ow.
That's simple.
And again, one more time. I mean, he knows he can't win the argument, but I don't blame him for continuing to go argue about it. So Costantino has a fresh set of downs after replacing James Blackman on this drive. And the clock runs toward 9 minutes. Rasul stays into the tailback spot. He'll get the carry here. Cuts back and has about 4 to the 21-yard line before he is brought down. Well, the ACC had a down year from Florida State, but a good year from Miami. Clemson doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. They are lather, rinse, repeat right now.
Yeah, and you know, and I'll be the first to say it. We were having a conversation last night, and we said, well, who's the best coach in college football? And typically you run off Nick Saban without even thinking. And as I think about it, and if I had to choose who I'd take right now, it's Dabo Swinney, the culture he's created. And with all due respect to the way that Nick coaches, it's hard to dispute his success rate. However, if you ask guys, I think people have more fun playing for a guy like Dabo Swinney.
Not much of a gain there. Roddy, where do you land on this?
I'm with Ahmad, although with Clemson Bama 3 going on in the playoff, I may just toss it up in the air for those two to decide on the field and say whoever wins that game on January 1st is the best coach in college football. But I think what Dabo Swinney's done, building Clemson from what they were to what they are now, it's been incredible. I think they've had 8 straight 10-plus win seasons. 3 straight trips to the playoff. You said it, Dave. Lather, rinse, repeat is what they've got going on. And the number of players that they have going to the NFL, it's incredible what he's done there at Death Valley.
They'll have more. That whole defensive front will get paid, it looks like. Costantino going for the end zone. Almost. He tried to get it to Justin Motlow. And Motlow did everything he could to try to make that grab. It'll be 4th down.
Not a bad throw. I mean, I think he threw it in a good location with 2 trailing defenders under Motlow. He tried to lay out there and haul it in with one hand. Couldn't quite grab it.
So that will bring Aguayo back out. This will be 39 yards for the sophomore. He has made 17 of his last 18 field goals. But PATs have been an adventure today. Good snap, good spot. Kick came out a little weird, but it's good. Not the prettiest kick of all time, but it's 3 more on the board for Florida State. 7:32 until FSU claims a beautiful trophy. We don't know exactly how to describe this. Overjoyed Seminole fan. He has a pass, unless Roddy gave him his and invited the guy on the field.
Is that indicative of the party scene in Tallahassee? I mean, that looks like a guy trying to tap in.
Yeah, he's all
my
in
man.
Yeah, he's all in on Willie Taggart. Maybe this is the new dance called the Taggart.
He's welcome at my party anytime. Come on out, bud.
My goodness. And he had some other folks helping him out, but they weren't styling like that cat. No way. My goodness. Here's Jones, stutter step, hesitation. This isn't going to work out well for him. Down to about the 5-yard line is all. Let's step aside for a moment from here and send it over to Chris Cotter. Chris, what's up?
Here's what's up, Dave. Pinstripe Bowl coming your way from Yankee Stadium. They're going to kick in about 37 minutes. Akram Wadley, that backfield for Iowa, taking on Boston College. Should be a good one, even if a little cold there in Yankee Stadium today. You guys know a little bit about that, though.
Yeah, we do. Actually, Chris, it's a little chilly here in Shreveport. And we also are going to be looking forward to seeing A.J. Dillon play for Boston College. Led the nation in rushing the last 6 games of the regular season. And just a great job by Steve Adazio. That program was down for a few years. And I think they've recaptured that toughness that Tom Coughlin and Tom O'Brien had in the BC days when nobody liked playing Boston College ever.
Good point. Yeah, and earlier in the year when our crew had an opportunity to sit down and talk to him, he knew they were on the brink of doing some big things. I don't think anybody walking out of there expected, though, the run that they ended up accomplishing at the latter part of the season.
Griggs will keep the football. Florida State now going into the 2 and 3 deeps defensively, getting some youngsters a chance to get in some minutes.
Yeah, Ahmad, you mentioned the fact that we saw Boston College and A.J. Dillon earlier this year. We also saw Akram Wadley, and so if you're a fan that likes to see great running back play and great line play, if you want to nerd out on some line play, Iowa and Boston College, this is a game you need to watch.
Out of the empty set, Griggs retreats to the end zone, going to go long right here. Big battle for the football, and it ended up, it looked like the intended receiver broke up a potential interception. So it'll be 3rd down. Jordan Mitchell was the intended receiver there, number 80. 3rd down, 7. And with Boston College coming on, NC State had some highs and lows this year. North Carolina had a freaky, unfortunate, injury-filled year for them. Duke ends up with a winning record after winning their bowl game last night, and we have whistles and flags.
Illegal snap, number 78, offense. Half the distance to the goal, remains 3rd down.
And the 2 conferences represented today in this bowl game, Conference USA and the ACC, had 10 bowl-eligible teams. And is the most of anybody in the country, any of the conferences.
And a costly penalty there from Devin Ferrier, the all-conference center.
Redshirt senior, this is it for him. He was a guard before this season. That's a nice pattern there being run by Adams, who takes off and is going to get the 1st down on the 16-yard line before he is cut down. So keeping the drive alive is a freshman from Adamsville, Alabama. So you'll have Griggs coming back. You'll lose Ito Smith. Corey Robertson is a redshirt junior, so you'll have a key part of your offense there. And Griggs brought down, nice tackle at the 21-yard line. You've got some good depth at running back with Tez Parks and T-Rod Daniels. They'll be back for Jay Hobson. And in 2 years, he's put together a winning record. He'll go to 15-11 overall. But he has brought this Southern Miss program into some prominence again. And Ito Smith, I'm going to be rooting for him at the next level. I don't see how you can. He just really represents everything good about the sport.
And as I mentioned earlier, I think him returning kicks today was something that NFL scouts will look to. And when you're evaluating this young man, as that dominant defensive line for Florida State swallows him up one more time, you start to figure out, well, where can I put this kid? Potentially with his hands out of the backfield, you immediately think 3rd down back. But if he can become a reliable kick returner at the next level, in addition to that, most teams like to carry, 3 or 4 running backs. There could be a place for this young man. He's been able to put enough good stuff on film, Dave, where I think he gets an opportunity to make somebody's team. He'll be invited in for camp, that's for sure.
So it's 4th down and short. Oh, what a hit on Washington. That will be a turnover on downs. A brilliant tackle by Florida State's Carlos Becker III to deny Southern Miss a first down. New Year's Day, the college football playoff semifinals on ESPN. Number 2 Oklahoma, number 3 Georgia will kick it off in the Rose Bowl at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, of course, from Pasadena. Then number 1 Clemson, number 4 Alabama in the Sugar Bowl from the Superdome in New Orleans. Both games streaming live on the ESPN app. An unofficial poll from the three of us. We picked the underdogs, believe it or not. These teams are the underdogs. And real quick, my thought on taking Oklahoma is Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, the same goes for me, and that's hard, obviously them being our arch rivals, but, Baker Mayfield deserves everything he's gotten this year. And I personally have seen him mature despite some of the off-the-field things that happen in the offseason, some of the antics on the sideline, and I think he is ready to put on a show for the college football playoff, and because of that, I think what Deshaun Watson was able to do a year ago. I think Baker Mayfield is set for a very similar postseason for the Sooners.
Of course, it'll be tough getting by a great Georgia team and Clemson, Alabama doing it one more time in their little playoff trilogy. Rasul trying to get to the edge. He has done that, and he'll get driven out of bounds. But after a first down, flag comes in at the 8-yard line, and now he's going to move it to the 11-yard line. There's going to be a holding call here. Going to go against Florida State to wipe out the run in the first down.
Holding, number 82, offense. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. Remains second down.
So in their 36th consecutive bowl game, the Seminoles have wound up scoring 42 points. The last time they did that was 9 years ago in Orlando when they put up 42 on Wisconsin. Odell Haggins was there as a coach. And he will remain with Florida State. Willie Taggart has brought him back. That was announced yesterday. A run to the right this time. Good blocking, and Rasul is brought down at the 15-yard line. That is really close. If to the first down, he might even have it. Sangster in there on the stop. Now for today's Capital One Player of the Game, it is Florida State quarterback James Blackman with an Independence Bowl record, 4 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over, passed for 233, and even ran for 29.
Yeah, he was 18 of 26, and there were a few times today where I thought the wide receivers even had a couple of drops, and you look at the performance that this young man had today. He really grew up and has steadily progressed as the year went on, and I think today culminated in all of the
Southern Miss
success he's had throughout his young career.
It will be a 30-second timeout.
Timeout called by the Golden Eagles. We show you James Blackman's day in pictures, the freshman from Belglade, Florida.
Yeah, really settled in, started finding a rhythm, and I think the play calling was also suited to his skill set. They put him in situations where he could find those one-on-one matchups, and then he really just started throwing the ball to Tate, which that became a major difference in this ball game. And now you see Haggins hugging on the big fella, and those two will be seeing plenty of each other next year, as Haggins' defensive lineman throughout practice will be trying to distract Blackman. But right now, all good.
And how about James Blackman doing everything that he did today without 2 of his starting wide receivers? Nyquan Murray, a late squatch, and then Erman Lane deciding not to play in the bowl game as well. Auden Tate, obviously his favorite target today, the only starting receiver that he played with today.
And that should be a first down. Yep, it is. Cosentino, after the timeout called by USM, is able to shove aside the defenders just enough to get to the 15-yard line. We're down to 2.5 minutes remaining here in the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl. Don't forget, on ESPN3, Roddy will be hosting the beautiful trophy ceremony that will be given out to Florida State. You wonder what Willie Taggart thought of today. Obviously, he's going to be happy, but how much of his brain is already moving on to dealing with all the phone calls he's probably had during the game from potential coaches. and texts and planning ahead for the changes he's going to make to this team that will take effect about the time that trophy is handed out.
Yeah, and get used to seeing that type of point production from the Seminoles, 42 points, because this is an explosive offense. You heard him. If you missed our interview with Coach Taggart earlier today, I said, what are some of the differences going to be? He said, we're not going to huddle. And so the pace of play will certainly change for Florida State, and as well as them trying to spread people out. Oftentimes when you watch Florida State now, they rarely put their wide receivers or guys outside of the numbers. Willie Taggart does a great job of using every inch of the field. He'll widen his wide receivers, which then thins out the box, forces people to go longer to defend. And I personally think that this offense, with the talent that's currently here, what they'll recruit, being in the state of Florida, I think he's got a great shot of having success.
And again, we invite you to tune into ESPN3 for the post-game ceremony presented by Capital One immediately following our game. And at this point, 50 seconds to go, 3rd down and 6. Straight ahead. Handoff there to Colton Plant. Going to be 4th down. Clock was stopped on the field by the officials with 40 seconds to go.
Ruling on the field is that the line of game was not made. We have a timeout for an injured player on the defense.
There is Coach Willie Taggart. Now, he doesn't get the Gatorade, right? That's Hagan's.
No, this guy is instilling a line from our former colleague, rest in peace, Stuart Scott. This guy's as cool as the other side of the pillow. His demeanor, you can tell he's going to win over parents and recruits in the state of Florida. Very familiar with it. It's good to see the Southern Miss Golden Eagle get up, and he is actually talking to Rudy Rudiger, the original Rudy, who we got an opportunity last night, the crew, that's him to your left of your screen. We got a chance as a crew, Dave, myself, and Roddy, to actually talk to Rudy Rudiger about the experience, the making of the movie, and as a kid who grew up watching Notre Dame, wanting to go to Notre Dame, I can tell you right now, just meeting him, you could see why his energy was so positive, and one of the best sports movies of all time in my book.
Florida State has elected to take
we made sure everybody got a photo.
Please set the game clock.
I think they found Odell Higgins.
The game clock will start.
That jacket
on my
is a little
signal.
damp. That's a good kind of cold. Yeah, Rudy, very charismatic. Actually did the coin toss before the game today here at the Independence Bowl. An emotional day for Odell Higgins. I think now he can finally feel the emotion, realizing he's got it. He's going to retire as interim coach with a 2-0 record and turn it over to Willie Taggart. But you know what? He goes right back to his office. He doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to go anywhere. Doesn't have to uproot anything in his life.
Yeah.
And perhaps great success is ahead for Florida State under Willie Taggart. And certainly what an interesting offseason it's going to be in Tallahassee. Who will be the #1 quarterback when we do this again in 8-9 months? That's going to be fascinating to watch. And for Southern Mississippi, a terrific season in Conference USA. 6 wins in a very competitive conference. And we'll see if they can improve on that under Jay Hobson, who has done very well in his first 2 seasons. Somebody who is very committed to Southern Miss. He has proven that in his career. We go to the field now. Roddy is standing by with Odell Higgins.
Well, I'll get Coach as soon as he's done shaking hands. Coach, the emotions after everything that this team has been through, winning this bowl game, what are you feeling right now?
Thank you, God. And thank you, Mickey Andrews and Bobby Bowden.
How?
The leader that you guys are. And thank you, Mama. I love you. It just, I don't have any words, man. I just say thank you to my mentors.
How, through all the distractions, through everything that was gone around, how did you keep your guys focused enough to perform at such a high level in this bowl game?
We are Florida State University. We're not going anywhere. We will be back. Coach Tag, you got it, baby. I love you. And we're Florida State, man. That's the best answer to that. Florida State don't go anywhere. We may have a bump in the road, but, brother, we coming back. Coach Tag, you got it, baby. Love you.
you've been a part of this program for a long time, and you talked to us about playing Florida State football. What did you see out of your team today that showed you that you were playing Florida State football?
We played as a family. That's Florida State football. Played as a family one, trusting each other and playing for each other. That's Florida State football, playing reckless out there, you know, doing our job.
Coach, congratulations on the win, and congratulations on the 2-0 record as interim head coach.
No, you saying, no, it's not about me. It's about the kids. It's about Rick Trickett, Randy Sanders, Lawrence Dawsey, and guys like that, Charles Kelly, Brad Lauren, Jerry Johnson, Bill Miller. Them coaches that stayed, and they committed themselves to it. And the young guys and the GAs and stuff, they fought through it. That's Florida State way. We pull together as a family after everything happened to the kids. That's who it's about. It's not about Odell Higgins. It's about us as a family.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Coach Higgins and Roddy, thank you very much. Our final score for the final time, Florida State 42-13 over Southern Miss. Coming up next on ESPN, a showdown between Iowa and Boston College in the Pinstripe Bowl from the Bronx. But first, we're going to send you back to the studio. For Ahmad, Roddy, and our entire ESPN crew, we want to thank you for watching the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl. Big win for Florida State in their 36th consecutive bowl game. After falling behind 6-0, they took over with a 33-point run en route to the victory. They finished their season 7-6. We thank you for watching. Good afternoon from Shreveport.
Check.